Mr. Ham.
Okay, hi.
Yes, Mr. Titus sent me in. He wanted me to let you know that the beach balls are not available for the Dolphin Boy sketch later in the show. My apologies, Mr. Ham.
What's a Dolphin Boy? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. It's the sketch that Mr. Titus said you were going to be working on later in the episode.
Are you choking on your saliva?
Hey, Justin.
Did that guy die? Who is that?
Sorry. Yeah, that's the new stage manager. I just hired him last week. That's Morgan.
Okay.
You got to be a little tender with him. He's an unused NPC from FromSoft games. So he's had kind of a rough go.
Oh. If I keep talking to him, will he have more dialogue to say to me?
Eventually, he's dead now, but they always come back. So, he dropped some Roa fruit. That's useless. He'll get better.
Will I eventually get his armor set?
I can't promise anything.
Okay, well,
but
if I can't get his armor set, I don't really care about him. I'm going to be honest with you, but I won't tell him that. But
yeah, don't tell him that. Again, really, really rough life for those FromSoft NPCs.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's not great.
It's hard.
They are prone to death, but thankfully, they never stay dead very long.
Yeah, it's hard in these streets.
But he's proven to be like a really a go-getter. Really. If you need a coffee and a bagel,
right?
You go ask Morgan. He'll hook you up. He might die on the way back, but eventually it'll get to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and let's get this show rolling.
Okay, I guess. Yeah.
Live from beautiful downtown Bastrop, it's time for the Stage Select, starring Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
What could this possibly be? Seems a lot like a podcast. Wonder what specifically. Talking about video games. With your hosts, you're in good hands. Not more of the same. Now we'll jump right in. So expect the unexpected and more. Now we'll get grooving. Never know who's gonna walk through the door. There just might be some treasure in this chest. Having fun with our special guest. Time for Stage Select.
And here are your hosts, Julian Titus and Justin Ham.
Welcome, one and all, to the Stage Select. I'm Julian Titus.
I'm Justin Ham.
And this is a video game variety podcast. And we are back.
Yep.
I mean,
Here we are.
no time has passed for you, the listeners. It's just been episode to episode. But it feels like it's been forever since we actually did anything.
It's been a couple weeks. It's been a long couple weeks for me. But,
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah, and I actually do have some housekeeping stuff to just kind of take care of right at the top. First of all, I would love to say that a big thank you to everybody who checked out the show. Gotten a very warm welcome so far with the first couple episodes. People seem to be enjoying it. I'm taking feedback as well. I've had some people kind of not sure about the length of some of the bits or the amount of the bits. I think some people want more bits, and I think this episode is going to end up having that because I honestly think that the show is going to be continually morphing and evolving from episode to episode, especially.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Justin comes up with something, which makes me come up with something, and then hopefully that'll make Justin come up with something, and then we just keep going from there.
Yeah.
As well as our podcast friends, contributing stuff here and there.
Yeah.
But so far, it's been a really nice reception, and honestly, I get the criticism of some bits kind of going too long. It can be a problem. But there's also a part of me, a really, really messed up part of me that kind of wants that 90s era SNL sketch that goes on way too long, that doesn't have an actual natural ending.
Sometimes
not all the time, mind you.
Sometimes it's good.
But a couple times a year, I kind of want that.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
It happens.
Yes. But I called in every podcast favorite that I could cash in to get, help spreading the word. And they came out in droves. But First of all, I would like to say, and this is kind of just a blanket thing going forward for probably the rest of the year, Bill Tucker over at A Gamer Looks at 40 has begun his Final Fantasy retrospective series.
Yes.
And I'm going to be on pretty much every one of those episodes, or damn near every one of those.
You're the expert at it, so yeah.
I'm really not, especially now that the episodes have started to come out, there's a lot of people who have a lot smarter things to say about Final Fantasy than I do.
Well,
but I will say that, I think I told you, when I went to go see Distant Worlds last time, but I am starting to feel like I am the ancient one as far as Final Fantasy goes, because everybody that he was talking to on that podcast was like, oh yeah, I started with Final Fantasy 7 or Final Fantasy 10 or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I started with the first one in 1990. I don't know what to tell you.
well, I don't know what to tell you either, Julian. You're just old. What are you going to do?
Yes. And it's fine. I'm cool with that.
Happens to us all.
Yes. But definitely go check out A Gamer Looks at 40. It's a fantastic series to listen to anyway. Bill is a good friend of ours, and he was really helpful to get the show, the word of the show out. But also, it's just a really fascinating series that he's working on right now. I'm, of course, a little bit biased because it's about my favorite series. Right. What are you going to do?
That sounds right.
Yeah. But what came from that is that apparently, Bill's best friend from back in Jersey was listening to the episode and followed me on Twitter.
Okay.
And I followed him back and we started talking. He is Joe Cade from the Perfect Storm Gaming YouTube channel.
Okay.
And so we kind of hit it off, and he's been really cool about, he actually shouted us out on one of their streams that Bill was visiting.
Oh, nice.
I believe if everything goes according to plan, I'm actually going to be on their next stream that comes out. That's going to be done the day that this episode dropped publicly, March 20th.
All right.
And they're going to kind of talk to me about the stage select and also just gaming in general. They've got a really sweet setup, by the way.
Nice.
It's the type of they've got the couch that I want. They've got the cool retro arcade stuff. They've got games everywhere. It's a pretty neat setup.
All right.
I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
And then I was also on episode 609 of the Comic Conspiracy podcast with Ryan Higgins. I was planning on being on that show anyway to help promote the stage select, but then sadly Akira Toriyama died, and Ryan was like, well, we're just going to talk about Toriyama. And I was like, oh, I can talk about Toriyama. That's fine. I've got stuff to say about Toriyama. So we got to do that. It was a very good discussion. Obviously a tragedy. We will be talking about Toriyama a little bit later on in this episode, more from the game's perspective. Yeah. We got a little bit into the gaming stuff on Comic Conspiracy, but obviously we were talking more about the manga and anime stuff.
Right.
And then also thanks to Moses, the Well-Read Mage, who helped get the word out in a big way. He has a new YouTube channel called Game Logica, which is fascinating. They're about 15-minute videos where he takes a piece, he takes a video game character or trope or element, and then says, what are the inspirations here? Can I go back in history and see if there's any correlation between, Kate Sith from Final Fantasy VII and Legends, of Antiquity and stuff like that. I still say Kate Sith. I know it's wrong. But that's just who I am. But it's a great series, really well edited, funny scripts. You're going to learn something without being talked down to, which I really appreciate. Nice. So go check out Game Logica. And then also big thanks to Mike over at Games My Mom Found and Eric Peacock over at Soundtracker for also helping to get the word out. Other people too. If I missed you, I apologize. Everybody was really cool about getting the word out and sharing the show. It means the world to us. And
yeah, it really does.
Again, we are a new show, more than ever, right? We actually do need as many of the ratings and shares and whatever, any interaction that you can have with the show in any way actually does help in a pretty crazy way. I know you hear that a lot in YouTube or other podcasts and stuff like that. But now that I have access to the actual numbers, no, it's actually really true.
Yeah.
It's really true.
For sure. For sure.
But so that's got that business out of the way.
All right. Well, yeah, chill. What's that sound? Did somebody hit the 311 button? That can only mean one thing. It's time for a random 311 fact.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So, Julian, did you know that 311 got their name from their high school? Their classes ended at 3:10 p.m., and according to some members of the band, everyone in the group was getting high by 3:11.
Okay. I will actually admit that I know nothing about 311 other than the band name.
Well,
so.
you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn today, and that concludes this 311 minute.
Chill.
Very good.
Yeah.
I have to say for listeners, just behind the scenes, Justin put the 311 button together right before the show, and it is a siren's call to him. Like it is much like the One Ring to Frodo, where he just cannot stop fondling the 311 button.
The soundboard is on my lap and ready to go. For any, there will be many 311 minutes in this. We're going to be hitting the 311 button. We go.
And I have a feeling that they're not all going to accompany like 311 facts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, well, yes. No, they might. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the 311 button's for. We can't press the button unless we have a fact about the band 311, Julian. That's
okay. I didn't.
Yeah.
I really didn't think you were that disciplined.
No. I have a whole list of facts that I looked up in about 2 minutes. Okay. And we're gonna read them. Goddammit. I mean, hold on. Right. You know what?
Chill.
It's time for another 311 minute. Every other year, 311 celebrate 311 Day, which is March 11th. So not too long ago, really. With a massive concert where they play an extra long set for their fans. Apparently, they played a 60 fucking song set in Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada. Julian, I didn't know 311 had that many songs. But
no, I didn't either.
Apparently they do. And that's a 311 minute that we all need to think about.
I feel like that's too many 311 songs, Justin. Like even for the diest of diehards.
Well, you know what?
Chill.
That concludes this 311 minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before we get into like our actual like games we've been playing since last episode, you know, this is the aftermath of our first Game of the Year deliberations episode, which I think people enjoyed. We didn't really get as much people. I thought we might get like more like pushback on like the list or whatever, but so far there hasn't been a lot of like comment on the actual list or anything like that.
Oh,
but we recorded that episode like almost 2 months ago at this point.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really remember like what I said, but you know, our plan, like that Game of the Year deliberation was like the prototype.
Yes.
For what we have planned for 2024 and moving forward. And we will be doing like the 2024 Game of the Year stuff this year. Like we will record it early and then we're going to be playing those over our hiatus.
Yeah.
Normally with like our old podcast, we would like take about a 6 to 8 week break. But nothing would be coming out except for maybe like 1 or 2 specials.
Right.
We don't want to like have the feed go that dead, especially with us being a new show. So we're going to be pre-recording like our Game of the Year stuff, breaking them into like bite-sized chunks and releasing those over the course of our hiatus at the end of the year. But one thing that I do want to do like every year going forward, and I thought we'd start this year, is the episode after the Game of the Year stuff airs. Just kind of go through our personal top 10s of the year and kind of, you know, briefly explain like why, you know, our list is the way it is. You know, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Obviously, we did our big deliberation. But Justin, what was your actual, like once you actually put it in order, what was your top 10 for 2023?
All right. Do you want it in descending or ascending order?
Let's go ascending. Let's have some
from
drama.
the bottom up. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me count. 1, 2. This is not numbered yet. I mean, it's numbered, but it's not. There's no numbers, so I have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. My number 10 was actually Starfield.
Okay.
Way at the bottom. I had a good enough time with it to where it made the list for me, but that's, you know, that's about where it was.
It's probably like a 13-ish.
Yeah.
On mine.
Exactly. It's okay. Like it has its moments and it has some ideas, but it's like, it's also the one Bethesda game. I don't know if I'll ever play it again, but it's hard to say. My next one, my number 9 is Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
Because the highs were very high and that's what got me through a lot of it. Like it has its share of issues that I get upset about, but the cool stuff was cool in that game.
Yeah.
My next one after that is Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. That is my number 8, which it was a good game. I had fun with it. Maybe a little recency bias with that one when it was on the list, but actually that's probably about where it should be.
I enjoyed it. And that ending is like really strong.
The ending, it's really good. It's one of the best ones. So, next after that is Fire Emblem Engage.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I really enjoyed the tactics in that game, and I played through it like almost 2 times. So that says a lot. Like I did enjoy it enough. It like the storyline is garbage, but I kind of appreciate it because it's so bad. Like it's so bad, it's good to me. Like it's hilarious. So I can't not put it somewhere. And after that, we're at number 6, I think. Yeah. Videoverse, which was a little indie game that I talked about on that Game of the Year episode that I really liked. It was a lovely little game that I enjoyed. After that, number 5 is Street Fighter 6, which it's a good fighting game. I enjoyed it.
Very good fighting game.
Yep, very good fighting game. Number 4 is Hi-Fi Rush. Love Hi-Fi Rush. It's a great game. Number 3 is A Space for the Unbound. I really, really like that game. As has a closing sequence and stuff that I have thought a lot about, and it has a lot of ideas that I think are like really interesting. But if I tell you them, it will spoil things, so I can't.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, and there's certain bits about there's like a big concept, like I don't know how to explain it, but there's one thing that I really enjoyed about it I can't say it because it'll spoil the fucking thing.
Yeah,
so
it's one of those few games where it's like, just trust me.
Yeah,
it's good, but I can't tell you why.
Yeah, it's really hard to explain. My number 2 was our number 1, Octopath Traveler 2. I loved the shit out of Octopath Traveler 2. It was awesome. And my number 1 was Baldur's Gate 3 because it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
See, and this is why I wanted to do this, right? Because like there's actually very little overlap in our top 10s. I mean, obviously, you know, we had to come to a consensus on the show top 10.
Yeah.
But that's why we also have our personal top 10 so that we can express that further.
Right.
So for me, number 10 was Super Mario Wonder, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which I thought was super charming.
Yeah, it's neat.
It's weird for me to put a Nintendo game on my top 10 in pretty much any year. It's not that I think they make bad games. I think they make very high quality games. Mm-hmm. They're just going in a very different direction than I am going in my life with like the type of games that I like to play for the most part. That's kind of how
it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. But like Mario was just a joy, from start to finish. I really liked it. Number 9 is A Space for the Unbound.
Okay.
Again, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said on the actual Game of the Year episode, the A to B to C to D to E nature of like some of the questing, like kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's like a 12-hour game that I think would be perfect at 6 hours.
There are definitely bits and pieces of it that probably could get cut. But I guess, I don't know. I guess I was just so interested in where it was going that it kind of just flew by for me. And it's a very indie game where it's like, you didn't really need some of this stuff. Like as much as I like that game, I'm wholeheartedly with you. There was definitely some parts where I was like, this doesn't really need to be here, but that's fine.
Yeah. Indies, like, you know, like and I've said this before, and it's a criticism that I have of a lot of indie developers, which is like, I sure do like this thing from this game that I played when I was a teenager. And it's like, no, I get it. Yeah. Like I played that when I was a teenager too. It's cool, but you didn't necessarily need that in here.
You didn't have to do that. Right.
Yeah. But again, beautiful story, incredible ending, and also it was really cool learning about Indonesia because I am wildly unfamiliar with. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So number 8 is Hi-Fi Rush.
Okay.
Thoroughly enjoyed that game. I'm just bad at it.
Yeah,
I have like
you have no rhythm, Julian.
I have no rhythm, and it was like very disheartening to like learn that.
Yeah.
Number 7 is Spider-Man 2. I think that actually came a little bit further down on my list after our discussion, like in the game of the year.
I'm sorry I ruined it for you. Yeah.
No, you didn't ruin it for me.
Okay.
It's just like, no, this is where it belongs. It's fine.
That's where it should go. It's just kind of, it's fine, I guess. Yeah.
Number 6 is Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
I was really hesitant to put a game on my list that I didn't actually finish because I feel that that's kind of a prerequisite for
but you
top
played
10 lists.
you played a lot of it.
I played a lot of it.
You played enough of it. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed
it.
It's just, again, it
kicked
doesn't
your ass
thoroughly
a
enjoy
little
me.
bit.
It kicked my ass a lot.
Yeah.
I need, like, they're constantly updating the game and adding new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they added like a super hardcore ultimate mode type thing. I would love it if they go back and add an even easier mode.
You can probably do that if there's like a custom game mode. You can kind of probably make it to where it's toned down to where you want it, actually.
I have to look at that because I feel that, like, the easiest mode probably has everything turned down as low as it can go. So a custom game
It's possible. But I think there are some things where, you can make like short rests full heal you and stuff like that, and other things. There are definitely some things that it would probably help with, but I don't know.
Yeah,
you'd have to look.
I mean, my issue was mainly with like the actual, like, in battle, right? So being healed to full wouldn't actually help because it's like, oh, I missed on this guy 5 times in a row.
You have bad luck with dice rolls, so
yeah, and then one swing of his was a crit and like practically killed this character in one shot. Okay, all right, that's fun. Number 5, and I'm honestly I'm surprised with myself that it ended up this high on it, but like I'm standing with it. Goodbye Volcano High.
Nice.
Fucking love that game.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting story, really interesting characters. I like the rhythm game aspect of the music parts. It's really well written, really well voice acted, really pretty to look at. Again, if you can get past the weird, they're dinosaurs but somehow furries also type of character design, but they have hair too. It's a weird look, but really enjoyable. Number 4 was Street Fighter 6.
Okay.
I was really impressed with what they did on that game.
It was great.
I love those characters. I love the look of it. I actually am a kind of a sucker for the soundtrack for some weird reason.
I have my qualms with that.
Yes. Number 3 is Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, like the expansion part of it.
That part, that was... Looking at my list, I was like, if I was going to put something on there, didn't technically come out, that year or whatever, that might be a thing, and I'm not sure where exactly that would go, but yeah, it's great. It was really good.
Again, not to relitigate the conversation from the show, but I am honestly talking about like Phantom Liberty, because that was the part of the story that kind of resonated with me and stuck with me the most. I still think about the ending of Phantom Liberty, where I don't necessarily think about I can't even really quite remember like my ending for the main game of Cyberpunk, but I remember Phantom Liberty.
Yeah.
And like those characters that was my favorite part of the game.
It was very good
by far.
Absolutely.
So and again, definitely part of it probably has to do with the fact that I had not played Cyberpunk 2077 vanilla.
Yeah.
So I also have that going into it, and I will acknowledge that.
Right.
But I am specifically talking about the expansion stuff like that.
Gotcha.
That stuff is killer.
Yep.
Number 2 is Octopath Traveler 2, which was number 1 on my list for the majority of the year.
Yep. Makes sense.
Can't say enough good things about it. It is one of my favorite turn-based RPGs of the last, few years.
Yeah.
Possibly my favorite soundtrack of the last few years.
Very good. Yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah. It was funny. I forget what I was playing. Oh, I think I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Because just real quick, I do like the soundtrack on Rebirth a lot more than Remake.
I do too. Yes.
But I still have a lot of issues with it.
I don't have as many. There's maybe a few here and there that I'm not as high on, but I'm pretty high on the soundtrack overall.
There's a track that it's like the overworld track when you're like outside, like in the Junon area, that's going for this pirate theme, and I hate it. It's super repetitive, and I was like, but Yasunori Nishiki could have like killed with this. Like he would have made this sound so fucking cool.
There is a lot of stuff on the soundtrack that that wasn't on probably the original one that I just my brain just skips over.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That can happen too.
Yeah. Like my brain just is like, I don't know what this is. So I'm just, just going to ignore it.
Yeah. It's not pushing the nostalgia buttons in my brain.
Nope.
Therefore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then number 1, Alan Wake 2.
Nice.
Honestly, I was going to say that it was like predestined to end up there just because it being the sequel to a game that I've been wanting a sequel to for over a decade.
Yeah.
But that's not a sure thing, right?
Right.
And I feel that like they nailed 9/10 of Alan Wake 2. Yeah. And that last part that they didn't nail, I'm fine with.
Right.
So like I really enjoyed it. I think that Remedy is now like one of my favorite developers. I think that Sam Lake is now up there with like Kojima for me, like as far as like,
yeah, I can see that.
The type of people where it's like, I will play anything that you make now. Like I just have to know. Right.
Right.
Like, so yeah, just really, really loved Alan Wake.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's our top 10s.
Yeah, that's it.
Let us know your top 10s. You can. That's one thing we didn't have any emails for this week's questions, comments, or concerns. But anytime that you have questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email them. The email address is thestageselectpod@gmail.com, and we'll read those at the end of an episode when we have ones to read.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's time for another 311 minute. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Julian.
Thank you.
311, waits for no man.
No.
Here's a fact about 311. Bassist Aaron Peanut Wills' father was a chaplain for the Air Force. Julian, did you know that? I didn't know that.
I know it now.
Prior to joining the band, Wills worked at Shoney's as a dishwasher for 1 week, and he also played violin before picking up the bass. So there you go. That's the 311 minute. Chill. And
violin, famously the smallest of basses.
Yeah, I mean, really, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
actually,
yeah. Miniature bass.
I played the viola, and I was upset because they would not let me play the bass. That's a real life story that happened to me.
Read a Justin Facts button.
Yeah, I don't have that. That I guess that maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't work. Okay.
No.
Well,
the Stage Select is a constantly evolving product. So
yeah, I have to make another button. I need an Amy Grant button. I've already talked about that on something else. I don't remember now. It's been a long night already.
And we're just getting started.
Yeah.
This is the type of energy that you can expect from this episode.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's been a bit since we got together and sat in front of microphones. In fact, I'm in front of a new microphone.
That's right.
I came into a little bit of money. I had like a refund check come in for a thing. My first thought was, I'm gonna put most of it in savings, but I'm gonna get a Steam Deck. And then I was like, no. For less than half the price of the Steam Deck, you can kind of upgrade the podcasting apparatus a bit, and that's what I ended up doing. Because my old mic arm had broken ages ago, and I was holding my old mic like kind of in front of me, and the problem with that is that like it was very easy to accidentally disconnect the cord during recording.
That happened a couple times, yes.
Yeah, and that happened when we recorded the first episode, and I was like, this needs to stop.
Yeah.
So I got a new mic arm. I got a new mic, which is it's a future-proofed mic because I'm still using a USB microphone.
Oh, it's got an XLR?
It has an XLR
nice.
Hookup. So eventually when I get my big goal of getting a Rodecaster, which is like a mixing board, I can plug it in with the XLR and I'll have like a lot more options for like my sound and doing fun post-processing stuff.
You can add your own 311 button.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think I'll add a Matchbox 20 button though.
Yeah. I thought about adding a train button, but I didn't. I thought better of it. That bit's dead now. We can't do that one again. was a good bit, though. It was a good bit.
Was that a bit that we did?
No, that was a bit that I did.
Okay, all right.
That was an old thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could get your own 311 button is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I'll probably have more stuff like, the theme song button and stuff like that. But we'll see.
Okay. Well, stuff that's useful, fine. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
Someone's got to steer this ship.
Do they?
I mean, one would hope.
I mean,
So one of the big things that happened to me since the last time we recorded is that leap year happened, which happens to be my birthday. And what I've done for the last few leap years is I look up the Saturday morning cartoon lineup for that year of the age that I'm turning. This year it was 11. So I went back to 1991, looked up what shows I would have watched on Saturday morning in that time, watch episodes on DVD or wherever of those cartoons and eat sugary cereal. I'm not going to spend the time talking about the cartoons that I watched because, they're 90s cartoons. They're fine. Like, I mean, they don't hold up all that great. Let's not lie. Like, I accept that. I am excited for next leap year though, because I think that's when X-Men starts. So that's exciting.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about the cereal, Justin. Now, I am diabetic now, so it's like I can't be eating this shit all the time. So I got like the small boxes, like the little snack pack boxes, in the assortment. And it came with 2 boxes of Fruit Loops, 2 boxes of Frosted Flakes, 2 boxes of Cocoa Krispies, and what I thought was 2 boxes of Apple Jacks. And then I actually got home and opened the package and realized that no, it was 1 box of Apple Jacks and 1 box of Pops. And I feel that is just sacrilege, Justin. I thought that we as a nation had come together and accepted the fact that Apple Jacks is one of the kings of sugary cereal.
I mean, they're pretty all right.
Yeah. And I was shocked. I was like, no, you put 1 box of Cocoa Krispies in this sumbitch and you give me 2 boxes of Apple Jacks. God damn it.
Well, I don't know. I like Cocoa Krispies probably better than Apple Jacks and more. I'm not. Apple Jacks are fine. Never been the biggest fan of them.
My actual one that I would eject would be Fruit Loops, but I feel that it's too ubiquitous of a cereal. Right,
yeah, it's pretty up there. Yeah,
it's up there. I don't particularly care for it. I think Apple Jacks is far superior.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm not high on it either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think now.
And then they also have like the single serve like bowls, and so I got a one of those of Fruity Pebbles because that's actually
Fruity Pebbles pretty good.
That's like low key, possibly my favorite.
I was just gonna mention Fruity Pebbles pretty good. When I was in high school, I didn't invent the recipe. I'm sure somebody did, but I made Fruity Pebbles treats like Rice Krispie treats with Fruity Pebbles.
Nice.
They were a big hit. People liked them a lot. Yeah. So
we need to develop synthetic pancreas technology so that I can go back to eating this shit on the regular. Cause man, like I was like, oh, this is doing things to Julian's brain right now.
Oh yeah.
Really fun ways.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So good. So bad for me, but man, that was a fun beginning to my birthday. And then I went to Best Buy to pick up my copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which came out on my birthday. And honestly, Final Fantasy VII Remake was supposed to come out on my birthday last time. It was supposed to be on leap year, but it got delayed like 3 days to like March, whatever. And I was like really bummed out because I had taken the time off.
Right.
So it was nice that this one finally came out. And with any luck, the 3rd part of the remake series will be on my next actual birthday. So that'll be fun. It was nice to actually, even though I started a new job, my boss was nice enough to let me off for my birthday. So it was nice to just take that day and, just be a kid.
Yeah.
And again, great. we'll talk about Rebirth. We'll probably save that for like the last big game thing of the episode, I would imagine.
Sounds good.
Since we overlap on that. But what have you been up to, sir?
Let's see. Since we're saving Rebirth, I played a little. I've been working a lot, so that sucks.
Yeah, you've been a little bit hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, I'm constantly tough to get a hold of, but because I come home from work and take a nap, and then yeah, it's the whole thing. But anyway, I played more Balatro, which is really good and fun. But I talked about that last time, so I'm not going to talk about it now. I played a really tiny indie game, and I do mean like it seems short. and that's good. It's fine.
Yeah.
It is called, hold on, let me remember it. Minami Lane. I don't know why I had to look at that real quick just to make sure I got the title right. It is a really tiny indie game that I would describe as adorable. It's like a little, like, you know me, and I love a time management sim. It's kind of a little like time management type thing where you like you just get you're in charge of a neighborhood, and you got to set up like, you set up like a ramen shop, and you got to get people to come to the ramen shop and buy the ramen. You got to keep changing the recipe because the young people don't like it, but but the old people will like it. So then you got to start a second ramen shop so that the old people have a place to go. And then you got to make more people for the old places for the old people to live. And then you gotta find the raccoons because they're out there. They're doing stuff. So you got to find them. And then you gotta, then you start a boba tea shop. And you do that. There's a lot of little things. It's really cute though. You get to like customize all the little buildings. The art style is really, like, I don't know, relaxing and nice. It's just a nice, cute little game. I think I played it for 2 hours, and I think I was just about done with it. Like, I'm not even. I'm not like done. Like, I don't want to play this anymore. I was just like, I think this is like the last bit right here. Actually, like that there is. It's not very big or anything, and it was like $4.
Nice.
Something like that.
Is it a Japanese indie game?
No.
Or is it okay? Someone just kind of.
Yeah, somebody just kind of it's in that style, but like no, it's definitely not. I think the developers are like just like a couple, like they're just a like an actual, like a guy and a girl who are together, and they make a video game.
Cool.
And it's very nice. So Minami Lane, I don't know how to describe it other than that. It
sounds like a cozy game.
It's a very cozy game, and I say time management, but like it's a really like chilled out time management. It's not like, oh my god, everything's going off at once and I'm slowly, dying.
It's not a Tom Nook situation.
No, it's not. It's for me. It's not Idle Manager. That's listen. Not to drag up the old bit, but Idle Manager is the most hardcore of time management sims, and nobody believes me. It's the realest shit.
Yeah,
it's the realest shit. But anyway,
I'm honestly a little terrified of it from talking to you about it.
It's great. It's really great. It's just designed to fuck you over at some point because you have no idea what you're doing and how to make money, and then you inevitably fail, and then you're like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna try it again, and then you do it, and then you get pretty good at it, and you're like, wait, and then you find out that there's like a dating sim element, and you're like, okay, what do I do to do that? What is that all about? And then they start going, you shouldn't do this. This is bad. It's like, then why is it here? And then you do it, and it is bad, and then you lose the company because you did that. And oh boy, it's a hell of a game. I'll tell you what. Fucking wild.
Well, in a 2024 game release year where we are already beset with multiple 100-hour games.
I am overwhelmed.
Having a nice, 2 to 4 hour experience, not a bad thing to be able to fall back on.
It was Minami Lane, pretty all right.
Yeah. I was hoping to buy a game like that to fall back on, and then I actually balked a little bit at the price. I still want to get it, but I don't know if I'm going to buy it right away. I had played the demo for Contra Operation Galuga, which I am dubbing a remakequel.
Okay.
It's like a sequel, but it's also kind of a remake because they're treading on a lot of the same ground as the original Contra.
Okay.
And it's by Way Forward. I love their games, and
they do some good stuff.
I really liked what I played in the demo, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go over here and spend the $25 or so on this game, and I was like, oh, that's $40.
Oh, that's a lot.
And like, I'm not saying it's not worth that. I'm just saying that like that is not the transaction that I was prepared to make when I went to go purchase it on a whim.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, this will be a fun like thing to like play a little bit in between sessions of a bigger thing.
Yeah, I didn't expect that price point either. You said that, I was like, I don't know if I would. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how much was that. WayForward made that Double Dragon game that came out not too long ago, didn't they? And I liked that.
Yeah, I didn't actually look into that, but I for some reason I want to say that it was like 30, but I'm pulling that out of my ass.
Yeah.
And, you know, like that Prince of Persia game that came out earlier in the year, I want to check out. I think it's also like, I think that one's 50, and I'm actually totally fine paying that. I think it's just that in my head, Contra is a game that you can finish in like half an hour if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right now, obviously, I'm not going to finish it that quickly because it's a really hard game.
Yeah, but I stand corrected. That Double Dragon game, that Double Dragon Gaiden or whatever, that was not WayForward.
It wasn't? Okay.
No, that was a different company. But this game was, but at the same time, I would equivalate the two just because it's like kind of, you know, an older thing, but you know.
Well, okay, no, actually, but this brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Because I also blanched on River City Girls 2 at the price point because I was like, that's more than I want to pay for a beat 'em up right now. Because I think it was also 40.
Yeah.
And again, WayForward makes incredible games, right?
Yeah, they do.
Like,
they really
I know
do.
I'm going to get my money's worth. It's more of just like I wasn't prepared to make that type of investment right then and there.
Right. That's what I mean. The point and the thing I'm saying is like this Double Dragon game was a game that I kind of bought like that, where I was just like, I don't know, I'll check it out. It might be fun, and it's like, I don't know, $20 or something. Like you said, 25. I was like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Because in my head, for a Contra game, I'm still kind of thinking along the lines of like Xbox Live Arcade days, right?
Right.
When that was kind of the normal price point for something along those lines. And I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's a much beefier game than I'm thinking, right? Because I definitely let's be fair. I paid $50 for Contra Shattered Soldier on the PlayStation 2 when that came out. No problem whatsoever.
Well, yeah.
It's just times have changed.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Chill.
Oh, it's time for another 311 fact, Julian.
There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome. I could tell we needed it. You know,
yes.
I could just tell we needed it. So I stumbled while we were talking about cereal and whatnot. I stumbled upon rare facts about 311.
Oh.
So these are ones that people don't know. Did you know, Julian, that Peanut got his name from a friend in high school who thought his head was shaped like a peanut?
Oh yeah, everybody knows that.
No, well, apparently it's a rare fact. I'm sorry.
No, I would check that source.
I'm sorry to disappoint with the this fact, but now everybody knows that didn't know. You know, it's for the people that don't know. You know, you gotta help. And that's
I know you were just testing me and my 311 love.
That's how I do, you know. So, well, that's been the 311 minute.
Chill.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Take it, baby.
Duke Nukem was the edgiest, most kick-ass video game character of the 90s.
Those alien bastards are gonna pay for shooting up my ride.
But video game developers and their audiences are getting older. It's time for Duke Nukem to enter the modern era. Doc, I'm worried about my prostate. See Duke Nukem, but you've never seen him before. Walking slowly in third person with the camera jammed so close, you'll never see him from the waist down. Sheila, baby, please, he's my son, for Christ's sake. Fuck you, Duke. He doesn't want you in his life. Enjoy the side of Duke you never saw before. His emotional side. I'm just feeling a lot of emotions right now. And I haven't had a full erection in months. Oh, God! Duke Nukem vs. Middle Age. Coming soon to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC this fall. Okay, listeners, you might have noticed a difference in the sound of my voice. Maybe not. It's hard to say, but I had some weird... Yeah, I had some weird technical issues and had to go back to the old mic for a bit. I figured out what the problem is, but it's not something that can be fixed tonight. So we're back on the old equipment.
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't actually notice because I was able to paper over it with a pre-recorded bit. But just in case.
No, what happened, listeners, was the 311 button was so powerful that it broke Julian's setup. It was fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think this episode's going to have to be called the 311 button.
Yeah, no, that's a good name for it, really. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
People be like, I thought it was a video game podcast.
No. I mean, kind of, but who knows? Who can say?
Yeah.
This is the show.
Whatever the fuck we want.
This is the show. I mean,
This is the show.
I mean, all right, now it's time. We talked it up. We kept saying it. It's 311 button. It's time for a 311 minute.
It will not be denied.
It will not be denied, Julian. In 1993, the members of 311 survived a vehicle fire after their RV went up in flames while driving up the steep incline in Omaha, Nebraska. Terrible state. Terrible city. The RV the band was pulling that carried their gear caught fire. The only door out of the RV was surrounded by flames, so the only way out was for the band to jump through the fire. And 311 later wrote about this experience in the song Omaha Styley. Huh. I
hate that word. I hate styley.
Well, 311 likes it. And that's your 311 minute. Fucking goddamn Nebraska. Chill.
You remember like the old, like the really old Bang Bros videos, like when they first started, where like the guy behind the camera just would not shut the fuck up, and he thought that he was actually like what people were coming to the videos for, and he thought he was so entertaining. He would use styley a lot. I hated that dude. I'm sorry. What?
I don't know what you're talking. I mean,
yeah. Justin, I know you played another thing before we get into a big thing. We've got other things planned for tonight, but it is that time of the year.
Yeah,
it is the time when Cody Rhodes comes out of the locker room,
when Roman Reigns sees his shadow, and we know it's 6 more weeks of AEW nonsense. I don't know. Yeah. WWE,
I had it and I lost it.
Yeah, WWE 2K24 came out. I have to remember what year it is. That came out, and I play it every year because I'm one of those people, apparently. And
to be fair,
fun.
You're also a rabid consumer of character.
I love to create characters, and they have a really good one in those games most of the time.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Did you check out the Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator thing?
I have not. When does that come out? Like, I mean,
like next week.
Next week. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's what I figured. I'm kind of just waiting for the full thing, and then I'm probably gonna boot that up and fuck with it.
Well, because all they released was the character creator.
Yeah, I seen they did that, and they were like, you can save yourself some time, and I was like, but I have this other one that I have to work on right now because people want stuff, because they like stuff that I do. It's weird.
You have a surprisingly like dedicated fan base of WWE
I
creations.
I was looking the other day at so Xbox, I don't know if a lot of you have had this problem. I get a lot. Xbox won't let people chat with you just directly. Like, they have to be your friend. They can send you a message, but it won't actually come up as like, this person sent you a message, unless you message them back.
My issue lately has been with just randos inviting me to parties constantly.
Now you'll have that too. They can do that. That's how they get around it. But if they send you like a just a written out message, it won't actually go through. And I was looking at how many I had, and it was like something like 300 or 400 of just people being like, "Hey, are you going to do this thing this year in this game?" I was like,
"Damn!
Oh man, I don't like it. I didn't notice that was that way. It just scares me." You need to throw up a Patreon for your creator wrestler stuff. I keep saying that I probably should start a YouTube channel for some of that stuff, because I'm pretty good at explaining how to do some of that shit to people. I've done it for a few people, but you know. But anyway, Anyway, WWE 2K24 came out. I haven't got to mess with it as much as I would like to, but then again, I have put some hours into it. It's good. It's pretty good.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I know. I keep saying, like, I think I said last year, I was like, man, this is the best it's been in a while. And like this one, to its detriment, I guess there's not much change. but it feels slightly
Refined,
better.
though.
It
Yeah.
feels slightly better to play, and it looks a little better. There are certain little tweaks here and there that, like, if you play them every year, you'll notice them and stuff like that. But they're mostly pretty good. Like, it still has some of the awkwardness and stuff like that, and there's definitely things that they did tweak that I'm not a big fan of, and they probably could fix. Like, okay, if you get put in a submission in that game, or you put someone in a submission hold in that game, you mash buttons and whoever mashes the fastest wins. But, like, that many games, like, impossible sometimes. Like, it's just like, I'm good at mashing buttons, but, like, it's just like, it's a lot. It's kind of wild. Like, sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, I guess I just lose, because that happened.
That's interesting to me, because I know for a while there, it had all been like these weird, like, quick time button prompty type things, and I wasn't a fan of that. And I wanted it to go back to just the mashing buttons.
Yeah, it's, so submission system in particular was, it was like a ring thing, and you had to, like, kind of match the ring to the other person. You had to overlap them, and you had to stay overlapped, and it was kind of annoying.
It was like a weird version of, like, the lock picking.
Yeah,
from, like,
people didn't really care for that one, and I didn't care for it either. So they did the mashing one, and last year it felt fine. But this year, like, sometimes, like, there's times where you're just like, it almost feels like you're deadlocked. Like, if you're good at mashing the buttons, like, you're just like, and now I'm just deadlocked. Like, we're just going to be here for a while. Like, I don't know. There's some sort of balancing thing going on there that I think probably needs a little tweaked. Like, I think it takes too long or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just little stuff like that kind of adds up. But, and if you're in a multi-person match, God help you. That match will go on for hours, maybe. You don't know. The computer's recovery time is way too quick a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. If it's a fatal 4-way, and usually with 3 you can do okay, but with like any more than that, it gets to the point where it's just like, no one stays down long enough. I cannot pin anyone. Like, it's just constant breaking. It's just like, this is going on a long time.
Which, to be fair, is actually probably a more realistic recreation of the current version of wrestling. Right?
Possibly, but at the same time, like, it's a video game, and like,
yes, I agree.
So I know the thing they used to do was they used to have, like, your character could get stunned and they would roll outside of the ring, and there was like a system to where you had to wait and kind of balance. Like, you could recover early, but it costs you a certain thing or something like that to do that, and all this other shit. They got rid of that now, so now it's just chaos, which is fun to some extent, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, but now I don't. Now it just keeps going. Like, I can't do anything. Like, I'm just.
That's interesting. So I haven't watched a lot of this game. I do what I normally do with the wrestling games is that I'll watch, like, a couple video reviews to see if I'm even semi-interested, and then I'll go watch, like, Alex Navarro or someone, like, play it a little bit. And I was watching him simulate a Royal Rumble match, and I did notice, I was like, oh, there's this cool stun mechanic where, like, sometimes they're just, like, kind of, like, dead on their feet a little bit, or dead on the ground. Is that not what you're talking about?
No. That's not what I'm talking about. That's kind of been there. The thing you're thinking about. No, there used to be, like, in a multi-person match like that, like a fatal 4-way or a triple threat or whatever, they would roll outside the ring and just be in a state where they can't do anything for a little while. Like, there was almost like a timer that would fill up, and that would, like, take them out of the match. So that way, so you would see that and be like, oh, this is my opportunity to go after this person, hit my finisher, and win. But they don't have that anymore. They got rid of it, which I understand, because they were like, there's probably people going, it's not really fun to, like, just be completely out of it and not be able to do anything or feel like but yeah.
I don't know, man. I remember playing WWF Warzone with, like, the game fellas.
Yeah.
And we were just doing, like, a big creator wrestler, like, elimination match thing.
Yeah.
And I had my created Lara Croft, and at some point she just, like, straight up died.
Yeah.
Like, she got knocked knocked the fuck out and would not get up. I think it was a glitch.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I still remember that. That was, like, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
in the moment, it wasn't all that fun just being, like, dead in the middle of the ring.
It's a funny thing, but, like, yeah, I think that's probably what people complained about, but, like, I kind of liked that aspect of it. But anyway,
I keep forgetting that there's the online component of these games because I always play this stuff either by myself or with
I play it by
friend.
myself, and I try to like emulate how an actual match would go. I'm like the weirdest motherfucker when I play this stuff, so I'm the wrong person to ask on certain things that are like that. But anyway, for the most part, it's really, really good. Or I'm not gonna say really, really good. It's good. I like it.
I was impressed with what I watched. Like it didn't break down the whole time that I was watching it.
No.
Like everything was moving really snappy, which I have not expected that from these games for the last like 10 iterations or so.
They're like contextual animations and a lot of like in between stuff and like little tiny things that they've gotten pretty good at that stuff and added a lot of that stuff. What I would say this year is it's largely similar to last year's thing. To anybody that played the last year's thing would be like, well, that sounds really disappointing. Normally they add like, a bunch of stuff. And it's like, no, but they just made that one really a lot better. Like with just all the little tiny things that they added to it, animation wise and stuff like that. It feels good to play it, this is saying something. I feel like they're heading in a pretty good direction with that. So that's positive. The created character stuff, again, I am an absolute maniac when it comes to some of this stuff. So you kind of have to excuse me. A lot of it, I think it's fine. I wish they would add more to it, but it's kind of like the same stuff. And like every year I notice every teeny detail about every little thing that they've changed, like more so than anybody sane would ever notice. Like I'm like, oh, this hairstyle is now has this problem and this problem and this thing now has this problem and stretches in this weird way. Oh, the materials are broken on this one this year, but they weren't last year and shit like that. And like, I could go on and on about things like that. I'm not going to. That's a lot of wasting of everyone's time. This year, my main problem has been like, oh, I don't know what it is, but suddenly I'm just running out of image points all the fucking time. I cannot. And so I had to develop, here's how fucking insane I am. I developed, Julian. I went and downloaded an image that is a numbered grid. And I took the numbered grid and I would put it over pieces of gear. And I would start counting places. And then I would use another program to go in and put them over where the numbered grid was. And do it very scientifically, and then put that thing back on them when it was, and till you take the grid off, and then you put the different image over it. It's a process, boy. This is the level of science that I fucking do on this shit. And I'm like I have like there are certain gear pieces now that I have broken down to where I'm like, this is almost the exact dimensions. Like I would have to like do it. Like just by the grid and by eyeballing it, and then go in and be like, oh no, it actually stretches a little bit here differently, so I have to go in and move this little tiny thing down just a fuzz and do that. Oh man, that was days of my life, Julian. Days of my life.
I want to specify and correct me if I'm wrong, but the stuff that you're doing with your created wrestlers, like you're making like wrestlers from scratch as opposed to like, hey, look, here's this AEW guy or here's this celebrity or character.
And that stuff is like, it's cool that they do that, and those guys do a really good job at that stuff. But like, I'm just doing it for my own entertainment. Like, I'm just like, no, I just want this character to look cool. But here's my favorite thing about this year, and this is like a tiny thing. Normally the problem I have and why I almost never play like the single player modes in this is like normally it's like, okay, well, you have to create a brand new character to play the single player mode, right? That was like you played the last one we played was 20 of all fucking games.
The game's so bad they put the series on a shelf for a couple years.
They were like, let's hold off just a little bit. And you had to create a whole character for that. Or I think you had to create 2 characters or something stupid like that. And the basic thing was like after you got through the whole thing, they were just stuck in that mode. Like you couldn't do anything with them. Now, you can take a created character that you made and import it into the single player mode. So you can have it that way. And then today I learned that if you finish the single player mode, you can export your character out, which you never could do before, at least that I know of. And I'm like, yeah, that's all I wanted. That's good. Cause that makes this worth playing and actually cool. And that's actually the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about was I played through the entirety of the single player mode. The first, there's like a female one and there's a male one. I played the female one. And I'm going to tell you, it's actually pretty good. I actually thought it was pretty good.
Is it Samoa Joe with a bionic arm good?
Oh, I don't think we'll ever be that good. But, well, now Julian. Let me. Okay. It still has, you and I have talked in the past about it. They kind of don't know the tone of what they're going for sometimes, if wrestling is real or fake. Yeah. And I think they're starting to kind of get where they're going with it, where it's like, no, it's very real. Like, what? Shut up. This is real. Okay. Which is totally fine. Yes.
Like, if they want to do that, let's lean all the way into that.
There are definitely certain parts where it's like, where wrestling is real, but also we have kind of some in-jokes here and there that, or whatever. But like, a whole bit in the thing is, so I actually really like how the one I played was, you start out like you're an indie wrestler, and they've done this one before, but that bit before, but like it's kind of funny. You're an indie wrestler that started a like a little indie fed with your best friend at the time or whatever, who was also a wrestler, and they don't wrestle anymore. They're just the manager of the company. And you go to you hate WWE. Your character hates them, but this other girl is in there and she wants to go to a tryout, and you go to the tryout, and then you beat some girls up there, and they're like, "We should sign you," and then you go to the thing. It's a whole thing. But you get into WWE, and you do like some of the angles are in there. I'm like, if they actually did this, it'd be pretty fucking rad. Like the character you're playing as keeps grabbing like headsets and just talking into the headset like it's a microphone, so only the people on TV can hear it. And I'm like, that's actually kind of cool, because it was like it seemed like edgy and like something they weren't supposed to be doing. I was like, that would be a cool bit. They should do that. They won't do it. But anyway, so the story keeps going, and eventually you get to this part where like it's like, okay, where do you want to go? What adventures do you want to take your character on? And so I was like, okay, well, let me talk to this character. One of them was like Liv Morgan. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're in like movies, I guess. I don't know. This is the entire bit was, okay, your character is going to go to do some YouTube thing, and they're going to smell some cheese, but they do really good at it. And suddenly you start getting texts from like a movie agent, and like you think you're being catfished, and then they turn out to be real. And suddenly I got the choice of like, hey, I got you a movie role. You want to be in an action movie with John Cena or an indie film with fucking Batista? And I was like, I'm fucking indie film. That's what I'm doing. And then my character went full blown Hollywood, and that was really fun.
I really appreciate the inside baseball knowledge of, Cena's going to do the big like,
action
budget
film. Yes.
Summer thing.
Yep.
Batista is an actor.
Yes. And it will change like the stuff depending on who you go with too. And
that's
like,
good.
I was like,
good.
It's pretty good, man. Like my character so they call your character the captain, and they got into, they started a show. It was called, I think I want to say Captivating Audience or something like that. And it was just a talk show, and they had an applause button that they hit. And I thought I was like, that's funny. They just hit the little applause button on their desk. And then I legitimately laughed out loud when at some point you were interviewing somebody, and of course it's wrestling, so a fight breaks out, and you start slamming their head into the applause button, and it just kept doing it. I was like, okay, that's really good. That's perfect. Yeah. I love this. This is great. And then the next adventure was like, hey, there's all this weird supernatural shit in WWE. What if we like randomly try to explain it? And I was like, sure, why not? They went full, like they go full supernatural, like more than I was like I was not expecting this level of weird shit. Like you're doing soul siphons to motherfuckers, and then you unlock that shit, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of stupid, but it's great. I'm enjoying this a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And the overall story arc, like I got to the end and I was like, that was really good actually. Like I was actually pretty enjoyable. It was pretty good. So yeah, I was pretty high on WWE 2K24, more so than I thought I'd be, especially the story mode, because I went in, I was like, I'm gonna hate this in like 20 minutes like I usually do, and I was like, okay, I'm actually kind of into this. The other thing is you play as another person that was in the indie league that's like a created character that they made, and they're a fun character because they keep getting, like, they have a whole thing where they just like are super excited to be there, and like they start realizing that they're in their first feud and stuff like that, and they're just like, this is my first feud, I'm so angry. It's really funny.
Yeah.
I was like, this is good. I like this a lot. So A+ to that. If you enjoy wrestling or a wrestling video game, maybe check it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it definitely looks like something that I would enjoy playing now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm probably going to give it another year, especially with all of the weirdness with WWE right now.
Oh, like, yeah.
I definitely think, I mean, obviously there was not much that the devs could do this late in the cycle of making the game.
Well, they have cut. There is no Vince McMahon. There is a lot of Brock Lesnar's cut. There's a lot of people that are gone from it. So
sure, but
yeah,
you know what they've been doing for like a lot of years has been like, oh, let's look at the storied history of WWE and recreate these matches and stuff, which people also tend to not like because it takes a lot.
I've
of like,
always hated that
from the player.
They still do that stuff. There are times even in the story mode where it's like, I never really mind so much how they do it because they're trying to recreate like the match, or like they're trying to show a cutscene in the match. It's like, okay, you've gotten to this point, now you have to be in the ring and hit them with a strike, and you do that, and then a cutscene will play, and then it goes right back into the match. And now they kind of
it's cool from a presentation standpoint. Mm-hmm. It's not cool from a gameplay standpoint, but my hope is that like for next year, maybe they're like, let's not look back. Let's look forward and make the whole thing about like the future of the WWE, and even the story mode be about like blazing a new path.
It
right?
could be,
and
they're always kind of. That's the thing. They tried getting rid of that fucking showcase mode. That's the mode you're talking about with the old stuff. They tried getting rid of that at some point, and people bitched. People were like,
really?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was like a universally like.
No,
you know, like,
no,
we like the
bitched.
Concept, we don't like the execution.
No, people bitched.
Thing.
People hated it. People wanted it back. I know. I don't care. They got the first year they got rid of it. It's like good riddance. I don't want to play it anyway. Because it always used to be one of those things where it's like, well, to unlock everything, you got to play it, and it's still like that here. Like, and I haven't touched it. But it's like, you play through these WrestleManias. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna play these. They tried getting rid of that. I can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was like 18 or 19. They tried getting rid of it, and they did, and people bitched. They're like, we want that, and I was like, but why? Who fucking cares? Like, who cares? Why do you care?
Very fun to watch, not fun to play.
Yeah, well, they do it in like the My Rise mode or whatever too, like where it's your created character and stuff like that. They do stuff like that, but it's also using it to tell like its own story. It's not like recreating something you've seen like in the video game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like I kind of liked it in that, and it's better than it used to be. Used to when they do you do that to start a cutscene, right? It would take a second, and it was kind of like stuttery. Like this one, it flows like right into the match. Like I was kind of like it's almost like it just looks like the camera zooms in and you're doing the cutscene. It's not quite that seamless, but it's kind of nice, but better than it used to be anyway. But yeah, other than that, it's a pretty good game. I like it so far. Oh, the soundtrack is weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, Post Malone apparently was into it. You know, Post Malone. It's not a very good soundtrack, Julian. There's like 8 songs on it. It's pretty bad. Two of them Post Malone made. I don't know anything about Post Malone. I know he bought a Magic the Gathering card. That's what he did. He's no 311. I'll put it that way. But who is? Yeah, who is?
Don't. Not yet.
No, I didn't. No, it's not time. It's not time yet.
It's not time.
But also, God, WWE entrance themes are so bad now. What the fuck is going on with that shit, man? There was a period.
They go in cycles.
No, there was a period of time, like from like I don't know when NXT was starting to get really big, where like, man, I swear to God, they couldn't miss when it came to theme songs. There was like so many really, really good ones, and now like I listen, they'll even like remix stuff that I liked before, and I'm like, why did you do that? It sounds awful.
Yeah, Johnny
Gargano had a pretty good theme song. It just sounded like a Paramore song, but it worked. It was fun. The remix, I actively groan every time I hear it. It's so bad. I don't know who they hired to do this fucking remix. I don't know if it's a Johnny Gargano's friend or who the fuck it is. It is bad. Like, you'd have to listen to, and we don't have the time. We don't have the time or the energy, Julian. We don't have the time. You'd have to hear the original and the remix. It's so goddamn awful. The timing is terrible. Oh, it's so
Have
bad.
they messed up Shinsuke Nakamura's theme?
No, his is the same. His is thank God. No, they didn't. They're not that stupid.
Yeah.
It's just depressing. It's just depressing to me.
Yeah.
But
that's
then,
WWE.
That's WWE 2K24. It's good though. It's actually good.
Like I think I'm going to give it one more year, and then I think I might actually pick that one up.
Either that, or just if you're really bored and it's on sale at some point, you know.
Yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, again, it's been, the last one I got was 2K20, and the last one I got before that was 2K13.
Yeah.
So, and I used to buy them every year.
2K20 is a bad taste in your mouth, you know? That's gonna leave a rotten taste. It'll be fascinating for you to go back and see like how far it actually has come since that.
Yeah.
Disaster.
Well, that was my hope with 2K13, because I hadn't played one since the PlayStation 2 era at that point. And I was like, oh, it's actually not much better than I was thinking it was going to be after all this time.
They really didn't change very much. I mean, they really haven't. Yeah. And they're still kind of like that, but, you know.
But they seem to be going in a better direction now.
Yeah.
So that I'm looking forward to that. Well, speaking of music, this is something that I had said when we first started talking about the show.
Oh, I thought it was time to hit the 311 button. I didn't.
No, it is not time to hit the 311
all right. I won't do it.
I wanted to have musical guests on the Stage Select, and I'm pleased to introduce the first musical guest for the Stage Select, the wonderful and talented Megan McDuffie, here performing her new song, Entity. And she does ask that you go follow her on Instagram. She's trying to build that up. You can follow her at Meg McDuffie. But here she is, performing Entity. Mr. Titus, Mr. Ham. Oh, hey, Morgan.
Oh, hey,
Morgan.
it's that guy.
How you doing? More gun, right? Yes, sir. What's up? What everything going okay? Oh, no, sir. Everything's fine. I just wanted to let you know the ratings came in. Oh, thank you. We should probably take care of that.
Okay. All right.
While we're here, as Megan is leaving the stage.
Okay.
This rating comes to us from Amber Redfern. Title is From Old to New.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Before you go on, is amber the color of their energy? Just asking. Chill. Okay, we can move on. Let's continue.
Is that them?
That was 311, Julian. Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was meant to be then.
Okay, it was. Oh man. Okay, go ahead.
The review reads as thus. It says they cover a wide spectrum of games and topics. They have fun, worth the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then this final review comes to us from Matt Wolf 96. All one word.
Good old Matt Wolf, all one word. Yep.
Title is A Great Show. And the review says, I've been a longtime listener of these guys' previous show, NWP, and highly recommend them to anyone who loves great conversations about video games that can quickly become a hilarious conversation about who knows what. I can't tell you how much I've laughed listening to them, as well as just really enjoying their thoughts and opinions. Keep up the good work. I can't wait to hear more.
Thank you, Matt Wolf.
All one word. Yes.
What happened to that?
Morgan, is it? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. He died.
Oh, I was going to ask him about if it was time for the 311 button, but since he's dead, it's time for a 311 minute. Julian, did you know that 311 singer Nick Hexum was engaged to the Pussycat Dolls vocalist Nicole Scherzinger, and they met backstage at a Days of the New concert in 2001, but broke up in 2004. And he will not confirm or deny that the song Amber is about her. You think about that. You think about it.
I will. I'll be thinking about that all night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that was the 311 minute. Chill. All right.
All right. Well, moving on. Still got quite a bit to cover in the show, but one thing, to take it down a little bit, as I'm sure people are aware, and I mentioned at the top of the show, Dragon Ball creator Akira Toriyama passed away at the age of 68 about a week ago as of we're recording this.
Yeah.
It really took me by surprise.
Me too.
I thought we were going to be hearing from him for like another 10, 20 years.
They were making that game, or it was based on the manga, right? That game that's
Sandland.
coming out. Yes. Yeah.
Which I thought was like a really recent thing. Apparently he started that in 2000.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I thought it was new.
Yeah.
But I guess it's new to the West. I think it just started getting translated.
Understood.
Over here. Which,
okay.
That's a pretty late translation considering that it's Akira Toriyama.
I was going to say, that's kind of wild considering who made it. It's not a nobody. If it was just some random dude, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. But no, that's a big name even to us in the West. So, weird.
Because I think Dragon Ball Super, he must have started that after Sandland, because I think Super is a much more recent thing.
Yeah, probably.
Like 2010s or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get it until like the last 7 or 8 years, or maybe sooner than that, maybe 5 or 6.
Interesting.
But yeah, obviously, hugely influential person in manga. And I learned a lot about him in the last week, stuff that I had no idea.
Yeah.
And the more I thought about it, even after being on the Comic Conspiracy podcast, it really started to dawn on me just what a massive influence he was.
Yeah.
So Arale, from the main character from Dr. Slump, hugely influential on the design and animation of Mario.
Okay.
Miyamoto just came out and said that in the last week.
Right.
And then I found out that he created the super deformed art style. That's him.
Yeah.
He had this panel in Dr. Slump where it was a bunch of kaiju from various movies and TV.
Yeah.
Done in this cute little chibi style.
Yeah.
No one had done that before.
Right.
And then that becomes an entire art form, right?
Right. Yeah.
And think about it, right? That's the art style for Final Fantasy.
Right.
Right? That's the art style for Super Robot Wars.
Yeah.
like so many things are just like a direct result of like Toriyama's like influence.
Yep.
And then I don't know why I didn't think about this when I was on the other podcast, but like he created the key fireball, dude. There's no Street Fighter without Dragon Ball.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that
and like the concept of the shonen anime, right, or the shonen manga, like the tournament arc. He created the tournament arc.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
It's just kind of amazing. And, you know, like, obviously, I know, you know, we've talked about him in the past on other podcasts. And
right.
I know you weren't the biggest fan of his art style, right? Like, but I did want to talk about, like, our experiences with him in games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want me to go? Okay. Or did
well, yeah. I kind of went a lot on Comic Conspiracy, so I thought I would piggyback off of you.
You're fine. No, I how do I put this? I think his art style is fine. Like it's samey here and there, but like I mean, but like you said, like but I know he's like one of the first to do a lot of that stuff. So he's allowed. Like he was allowed to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's probably somebody down the road that will come out and you know, kind of emulate that style. I'm sure a lot of people will. It will always have a place and so on and so forth. But like when it comes to video games, like he did Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger was, you know, that's a big one.
I think Chrono Trigger for a lot of people in the West was the one where he became the name, right? Where people, like for me, you know, and I talked about this on Comic Conspiracy, but I had gotten like bootleg VHS subs or fan subs of Dragon Ball Z before it even started airing here, like on TV. So I knew Dragon Ball, but it didn't click that it was like, oh, the Chrono Trigger guy until, well, actually that was before Chrono Trigger came out. Once Chrono Trigger came out, that's where the light bulb went off, where I was like, oh, this is the same guy. Like Chrono looks like Super Saiyan Goku just with red hair. Like, okay,
yeah,
I get this. I like this. This guy's cool.
yeah, pretty much it. And yeah, like I don't know. I'm not the biggest Dragon Quest guy, but I don't know. I'm not the best person to talk about Akira Toriyama, at least when it comes to video games, especially because like a lot of his video games I've always been like kind of like they're fine, I guess.
But even just like looking at them like just as a passerby, right? Like all of those characters,
they always stand out. They always stand out. You always know it's him. Like there's something about that style that it works. Like I mean, I
think his art style like translated so well once like cell shading became a thing in polygons.
Yes,
like his stuff looks so good in 3D.
Yeah, very much so. Absolutely. And I always remember the weird one that he made, because the one I remember I got excited about it and then never bought it or played it, and that was Blue Dragon. Because that was like right around the time when like I had watched Dragon Ball and was, you know, fairly into it for the most part. And then that game was like kind of coming out, because it was, you know, that was, to me, that felt like peak Dragon Ball popularity, because I don't know, I was in high school or whatever, and that's when you get into these types of things. I don't know, but I remember Blue Dragon getting announced and coming out, and then reading the reviews for it, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of sad that that's not that good, or people don't like it.
You know, it's one worth reevaluating, because I think it was definitely a product of, you know, at the time, once we started like differentiating JRPG and computer and Western RPGs.
Yeah.
You know, there was definitely like a burnout of people who had grown up playing nothing but those types of RPGs. Right. I think if you actually go back and just play it as an RPG, like divorced from that, it's actually really good.
Probably
it's
pretty
just,
fine.
I think it's just, at the time, it was definitely a sign of burnout of that style of gameplay.
For sure. And you know, what are you going to do? But, you know, he will always be the Dragon Quest guy, and he does a good job on those. So, or did a good job on those, and yeah, this one did hit me pretty because I can't even remember where I seen it. I think I might have seen it scrolling through Reddit, and then I refreshed Reddit and expected because okay, I don't know how often people scroll through Reddit. I don't post anything on there. I just look at it because it's just a bunch of weird shit all the time, and that's what I like about it. But I remember seeing it and being like, "Oh shit, that's crazy." Hold on, and I refreshed everything and expected to see a bunch of news, and then I didn't see anything. I was like, "Oh, maybe it was a weird shit post or something that I just fucking scrolled through." And then no, it was very real, and I was like, "Wow, that's a huge bummer." Yeah,
and it was crazy to see because it was this oddly unifying thing online for me, where it was like just universal praise and outpouring of support and telling stories of, you know, how did you discover Toriyama, or what was your first experience with him, or, you know, what's your favorite Toriyama character, or blah. And it was just like non-stop for days.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, this is like, he might, we kind of broached this topic on the Comic Conspiracy, but there's a real good chance that he might actually be the most influential person in his realm of media.
Yes.
Because think about
100%.
how far it extends beyond manga.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100. I don't think there's really any debate about that. Like, to me,
it's all of manga, it's all of anime, which then trickles into animation as a whole, comic books as a whole, pro wrestling, right? Acting,
everything,
character design,
just about everything.
Video games.
Like, there's so much stuff that guy is very, very influential, and he's going to be one of those people that's just referenced and known about for years and years and years. And it's and like I said, people will try to emulate what he did, and they can't. It's an emulatable style. I mean, it's an art style. You can do it, but it's not going to be the same, and so nobody will do it. I bet. And that's good in a way, and kind of sad in another way. You know, because like I wonder, like, going forward, because, you know, he was always, I've always associated him with the Dragon Quest games, and now I wonder where you go from there. Do you have somebody copy that style, or do you go, hey man, thanks for the memories, but, you know, here's the new guy that's doing it, and they let them do their own thing, you know?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing, right? Because, like, especially Dragon Quest, those monster designs are codified and enshrined, right? Like, they have all been done in 3D at this point, so, like, they know how to render them. Yeah. What happens is, what do you do when you want to introduce new monsters, new stuff, Dragon Quest,
or new characters, or any of that stuff? Because, like, again, Toriyama has had such a distinct style. Like, you looked at any of this stuff, and you're like, there he is.
And obviously, I would imagine Dragon Quest 12 is far enough along where he probably would have already done his work on it.
It's possible. It's possible.
So you got to think, but then you got to think about, like, okay, but what about Dragon Quest 13, which of course is going to be multiple years.
Oh, yeah.
We still haven't seen Dragon Quest 12 since it was announced like 4 years ago. Or whatever it was. Like, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, what happened to that Dragon Quest 3 remake and Dragon Quest 12? Like, that did happen, right? Like, I'm not imagining that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big bummer.
It is.
And again, 68 just seemed like way too young for, you know, someone who was still very active in his career and still very creative and had stuff he wanted to do.
So I didn't exactly see how he died. Did they come out and say, or just
It was a pulmonary embolism in the brain, and apparently he had a brain tumor. So this wasn't exactly out of left field.
Wasn't out of left field. Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered about that.
And I'm imagining it must have been a thing where, you know, it was the type that they couldn't operate on or something like that.
Right.
But it's a huge shame.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah.
And you know, I haven't looked at it. I haven't read the manga, but I'm buying Sandland when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's, you know, it's one of the last, like, Toriyama, you know, worked on video games.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just kind of want to have it.
I've really been meaning to pull the trigger on at least buying the Dragon Ball Z Blu-rays, and I never get around to it. And now they're really, I think, expensive, but I might do it anyway because it would be nice to have those, on something.
It's something you'll always want to revisit it at some point.
At some point, right? Yeah,
Even if it's just to watch a certain fight.
Yep, exactly, man. That stuff will live on with me forever. So that's good.
Yeah, that's Akira Toriyama.
Yeah,
he will be missed, and just a titan in every industry that he touched.
Yep,
and even industries that he didn't touch.
His influence on pop culture will be felt for almost probably ever.
Yes, absolutely,
almost forever. So,
man, I was pining for my silk screen Dragon Ball button-up shirt last week.
Well, Julian, now listen, I know maybe we let that go.
No, man, look, you could still pull it off, or I can still pull it off.
There was a time I don't know if anybody actually can pull that off, Julian. I don't think any one person can pull that off. There was a time and a place for the silk Dragon Ball shirt, and that was in the 2000s, and you had to be high on weed.
I wasn't high on anything. I was just enjoying the feel of the
you
silk.
were doing it wrong. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, all right. Maybe not the silk screen Dragon Ball shirts, but what about my silk screen Megatron shirt?
Let's just move on, Julian. Let's just move on.
That's fair. Breaking news, Justin, actually. The stage select, if it's known for anything...
The 311 button?
No.
Oh.
It's that it is the place for the hottest and most latest video game news.
Oh.
That is the big takeaway of the stage select. That is what people should know about this podcast, Justin.
Oh. Okay.
And so I have the latest headlines here, and I've got some bad news, unfortunately.
The 311 button is not allowed anymore? Because it still works.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
No, it's not allowed. No, I can press it.
Let me do my goddamn bit. It's a new bit, goddammit. Let me do it. Yes, I hate to break it to you, Justin, but the release date for the Nintendo GameCube has been pushed back.
Oh.
It was going to release on November 5th, but Nintendo just wasn't confident that they could deliver the numbers that were needed for launch day. So it's not actually coming out until November 18th. So you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to play Star Wars Rogue Squadron and Luigi's Mansion. I know that's a blow to you.
Yeah, no, it is.
But as Nintendo's director of corporate planning, Satoru Iwata, explains, for us, it was really a decision in terms of how we can best meet people's expectations after E3. We decided to come to market with a larger quantity of units. The actual volume of units we're going to have on the initial day is increased by about 23%. So a little bit of bad news at the front, but easier to find a GameCube when, on launch day for people that maybe weren't able to pre-order it first time around.
Okay.
That is some of the pressing news that I have for you.
All right. Am I stoned? I'm not stoned. Okay, continue. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Next thing, we're always on the lookout for new adaptations of video games.
No, sure, yeah.
There's a Dragon's Lair movie in production. Don Bluth Animation is actually going back to the past for its next project.
Okay.
It's going to be a feature film based on the early 80s Laserdisc game of the same name.
Okay.
So, that's exciting. I know when you think about animation, you think Don Bluth Animation. And when you think about video games, you think about Dragon's Lair. So it was only a matter of time before...
It was only a matter of time before I put those two things together, yeah. No, that is true. Did they actually do that? Did that happen?
It's slated for a 2003 release, Justin. So we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, can we go back to the 90s and tell my mom and ask my mom why she bought that Amy Grant album? Is that a thing we can do?
We cannot do that.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, continue.
Yes, I have a couple juicy tidbits here. In the gaming gossip section.
Okay.
Big rumblings inside Capcom, Justin.
Big rumblings.
Yes, I've learned that the Resident Evil series is coming to the GameCube in a big way.
Oh, I thought they had a grumbly tell me.
No.
Okay.
Starting with Resident Evil 4, the GameCube will become the home platform for the series.
Oh, yeah, no,
They've got 3 Resident Evil games already bound for the GameCube. Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1 Remake, and Resident Evil 4.
Oh.
So that's very exciting.
Yeah.
And the last little bit of gossip I've got here is that the next Chrono game by Square in the Chrono series is going to be on the Xbox.
Oh, I'm sure that'll definitely happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like big if true, right? Like obviously it's just a rumor at this point, but
I'm definitely certain that series isn't dead forever.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
So very, very, very exciting stuff. Again, that was breaking news. Thank you to the source for all of our articles this week. That is obviously the November 2001 issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I see. Well, we'll have to
look. I tried something. I don't know if it worked.
It was fine.
It was a thing that happened. Maybe we don't speak about it ever again. Maybe we do.
Well,
I don't know. It's the stage select.
Well, I do know this. Chill. It's time for the 311 minute. Let's see what we got on tap for this one. Let's see. Oh, more about Nick Hexum, 311 singer. He used to own a private island off the coast of Florida, Julian. And after he purchased the island, Hexum changed its name to Money Key. Or from Money Key to Melody Key. Because he's a musician, you see. Eventually, Hexum decided to sell the property, stating that his priorities had changed and he had not been to the island as much as he hoped he would. He listed the property in 2011 for sale for $4.9 million. So, if you are the owner of the island that the singer from 311 owned, good for you, I guess. And that's been the 311 minute. Chill. Now we can.
I think he should have sold it for $3.11 million.
Yeah. Well,
even if it was worth more, just on
principle. Just on principle.
Like, what are you doing?
You know, it's fucking up, really. Honestly.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Matthew Matson.
And I'm Matt Matthews.
And we're the owners of Matt and Matt's Materials.
Come to us for all your crafting material needs.
We have fish oil,
bronze ingots,
maple branches,
little pieces of string,
animal glue. Remember, if you need materials, you need Matt's. Visit Matt and Matt's Materials in the Market District of Limsa Lobinsa.
The Stage Select is made possible through the support and funding of viewers like you. Here are our wonderful patrons.
Let's thank some patrons.
Oh, Justin. Yeah, okay, let me do that.
Yeah. We appreciate all of the patrons. We make a point to thank the executive producer tier every episode. And our patrons this week, at the executive producer level, we have Bookie.
We have Casey Curran.
We have David Portnov.
We have X-Rian.
We have Philip Becker.
We have Stephen Lobo.
We have Xavier Krager.
Yeah, we do.
And new patron, Andrew Wilson, who signed on at the associate producer legacy tier, but he actually signed on after the first episode hit, so I wanted to be sure and get him in for his monthly.
Well, welcome, Andrew Wilson. Thank you,
Andrew Wilson,
for joining the Patreon. That's a very good thing to do.
Yes. Anybody listening, we hope you consider joining the Patreon. You'll get early access to episodes and access to any bonus content that we create. There's already some stuff up there now. Coming soon, an exclusive 311 episode. All we talk about is 311. That's it. We'll discuss that off mic.
I'm pretty sure it's happening.
But actually, I do have an announcement regarding the Patreon.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I have a 311 announcement. I was going to get really excited, but no. Okay.
I was talking to a listener of the old show, Arhexis, in the Pixelbit Discord.
Oh, okay.
Not long ago, and he had mentioned that like he didn't have any experience like with video game stores, especially like mom and pop stores, like growing up. And so I was telling him about like my store and stuff like that and some of the stuff. And it kind of blew him away. And he's like, man, this is like really interesting stuff. And it got me thinking. And so I hit up my friend of the show, John Gholson, who was also our show announcer. And I was like, hey man, would you be up for doing like a Patreon, like maybe monthly podcast where we just kind of talk about the old Game Fellow stories and
fun.
Stuff? And he was like, I don't know that my memory is really that good about the stuff. And I was like, that's exactly why we need to do it.
Yeah. We
need to get this stuff recorded while we still can, because it's not just about like our personal history in video game retail. It's video game history.
Yeah.
And I think that's something very fun. Now I will say, full disclosure, this is a series that will eventually be in the free feed, but I also don't expect it to be an ongoing thing. I'm thinking probably 6 to 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Depending on how much we can go for, and if I can get like former game fellas in to talk to us and stuff like that, we might be able to stretch it a little further than that. But I envision it as a finite series that once it's complete will then be available for free in the main feed. But if you want access to it, as it's coming out, again, I'm planning for that to be like a monthly thing. I'm hoping to like get with him next month for the first.
That sounds really fun. That's a good idea. Yeah. I like that.
I think it'd be really cathartic for me. Definitely. But also like, because I was talking about some of the celebrities that came in and shopped with us, right? Like, and I think it'd be fun to talk about the fact that I got to see Mark Henry, undress the owner of my store with his eyes. That was the first time I'd ever seen a man do that to a woman, and I was like, this is surreal to look at.
Yeah.
Little things like that. And more interesting stories than that.
Yeah.
I promise. But yeah, thank you again to our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dude, kind of a big game that we should talk about.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
Oh man, we're gonna lose like all of the listeners that we gained in the first two.
No, I don't think so. I'm not as harsh.
Okay.
I'm probably not as harsh on it as maybe it's going to seem. So
yeah, and I will. So let me say, Justin and I did not end up enjoying Final Fantasy VII Remake all that much.
Yeah, it was. My analysis of it was fine, but like I wasn't like super big on it like a lot of other people were.
Yeah.
So
I am enjoying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth orders of magnitudes more than Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I am to an extent.
Yeah. I want to start with you because I've got kind of a semi-long-winded story about like the first few hours of playing this game.
Yeah.
I've had a couple texts from you.
Uh-huh.
And the only thing that I know is that I'm enjoying it more than you because I'm still going where I know you had stopped.
Yes. I stopped for a couple of reasons. One, and I'll get into why I stopped most part, but one aspect, just so people know, is because the stupid WWE game was coming out, and I was like, well, I do need to play that.
Yeah, you have an adoring public that is waiting for your creation.
I do have to try it, unfortunately. Like, it is unfortunately, this time of the year comes, and it does become kind of a thing for me, so it just happens.
Right.
But...
okay. And I should say, I don't think that we really need to talk about the game getting into spoilers. I think we can talk around.
No.
Weird,
most of my stuff is not spoiler related at all.
Same.
So when it comes to the original game, this is my favorite part of the game, at least in the old one, because this is when you're out of Midgar and the intro to the game is kind of over. You know what you're doing a little bit, and now everything opens up, and it's kind of cool and interesting and how it works and all that stuff. So it starts out, I will say it does start out in the flashback thing. That's kind of like the obvious part or whatever. And I remember
it is, but I really don't like the way it started, dude. Like I wanted to have that moment of like leaving Midgar and walking out into the world and then getting to calm.
They do it at the end of the other one though. Like that. I guess. Yeah, it's right at the end. Like they do their big moment. They have their big lines. It's like it's fine. Yeah, the way it goes down is fine. I get why you start from there. It's a great place to put a tutorial and do all your stuff and teach people the game. It works. It's weird. I'm so picky about certain things I've realized in Final Fantasy VII.
And I get it. It's one of your favorite games.
It is, and there are certain parts where like it opens in Nibelheim, and I'm like, this is not how I've always pictured this town. I don't know what I'm walking around. I'm like, this is not how I think this town should look, and I don't know why I keep having that thought when I'm walking around it. I'm just like, no, I don't think this should be over here. No, I don't think this building should look like this. This isn't how this was laid out. This is weird. I don't like this. And
it's extra weird because they had already created it in 3D for Crisis Core.
Right.
And this is a completely different town layout than Crisis Core.
Yeah, it's very strange. That's and so instantly I'm kind of like, this is nitpicky as shit, but I'm kind of, I don't know why I don't like this interpretation of thing. And this is the reason I'm mentioning this is because this is kind of a recurring theme in everything.
For me too.
But it's not everything. Sometimes I get to a place I'm like, that's perfect. That I like.
Yeah, no. Yes,
when they nail it, nail it. But when they don't, I'm like, what? I don't know. I don't like, why is this like this? This is weird.
Dude, I was like, why did you get rid of that really cool spiral staircase down into the basement of the Shinra mansion? That was like this really like
that was a
creepy, moody thing. Yeah. Why am I using an elevator? I know it makes more sense just from like a construction standpoint. Yeah. But it's not as cool or as not. Mood generating.
No, it's absolutely not. And I don't know. There was a ton of stuff with that I was like, okay. I will say this, and this is the only spoiler, the flashback's the only spoiler stuff I'll get into. They do make the scene where Sephiroth does the thing a lot more like interesting, because in the original game it's tough to make little polygon guys feel bad about them getting murdered, but like here it's just like, okay, this has some weight to it now. Like motherfuckers are dying. Like this is cool. Like I'm like, I get it. All right, I like this. Sephiroth is a bad guy. Got it. I get it. I got it in the first game too, but at the same time, it feels a lot weightier when it's happening here, and I think that's cool. But anyway, as far as everything else goes, just gameplay stuff. How do I put this? Like I said, this is one of my favorite. Basically, when the world opened up in Final Fantasy VII, it's like my favorite part, and I feel their interpretation of it is one of the laziest fucking things I've ever seen in video game design. I think it is so god awful boring the way they've done just the entire world. That it's
lazy isn't the word that I would use, but boring I definitely would.
I would use lazy. It's Ubisoft paint by numbers fucking open world design is what it is, and it pisses me the fuck off. I actively got pissed when I got to the first part of it, and I was like, really? It's just towers and fucking this and like little quick time events and fucking Chadley talking to me. I don't even fucking like that guy. Fucking hate that guy.
Chadley is a problem.
He's fucking annoying.
He interrupts you so much, and I think that is my biggest issue overall with Rebirth is everything is just a little bit too slow. Yeah. And again, I said this on the first episode. I like to role play in my video games. And so there are times in a game where I'm like, no, right now I need to walk. I'm not going to run. But I like to decide that. Final Fantasy Rebirth tells you when you can walk and when you can run. And usually it's like, no, you just got to walk. And it's like, no, I don't want to walk here, Rebirth. Like, why are you making me walk so slow here? Like, let me... This isn't fun.
To me, it's just like, it's just really boring. I feel like we need to stop with this kind of open world shit. Like, I love an open world. I really do. And for a while there was a place for it in video games. The checklist open world is something that has been done, and we've done it enough times now that I feel like we can move on. There are interesting ways to do it. It's been done before. Half the fucking shit that they filled this with was more than like, hey, go over here, and then you go find a little thing, and now Phoenix is a little stronger. Oh, that's cool. And then you go over here and you hit some buttons, and oh, good, the live stream. That's good, right? Okay, good. This is great. And then you go over here and you fight some guys, and oh, they're real tough guys. Maybe you don't know.
My thing with it, so like that part of it doesn't bother me all that much, really, simply because there's not a lot of it, right?
There's enough of it that it slows everything down to where
if you want to engage with it,
I actively hate it. And I do feel, and for whatever reason, in a game like this, where I want to do everything and get everything, I feel like I have to do all of it before I move on. And that's what's actively just killing my enjoyment of it.
Yeah. And see, I am not doing that. I am sampling here and there and then kind of moving on when I feel that I've had my fill in the area. Because thankfully, unlike Final Fantasy VII Remake, you actually can go back to previous areas. You can. And
a lot of it's on me. A lot of it's self-inflicted, but at the same time, I'm like, but I don't really want to come back here. I just want to keep going. Yeah. So, yeah.
But I do want to hone in more on like the design of the world, because I feel that like it's kind of an ugly world overall and needlessly annoying to traverse in ways that remind me of Final Fantasy XI, where there's certain places where it's like you have to go around and up specifically this staircase to get to this higher spot.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get here any other way.
Right.
And then also it just doesn't read to me like what I imagined the world would look like back in the original game.
Yeah, that's always a tough thing to kind of sell.
Definitely.
I didn't have it so much in the first area. I could kind of buy it in the very first area around Calm. That was like sort of like where I was like, okay, yeah, no, I could see the grasslands and the Chocobo farm and the swamp and all that stuff. Yeah, no, this is about right.
That stuff is, but it's all of
it was
like
Junon. When I got there, I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is a weird.
And I want to get to that, but I want to talk about Calm.
Okay, good.
Because for me, it's in the name, right? So like, and you have to cast back to 1997, where you're playing Final Fantasy. Well, I mean, I was like, or playing Final Fantasy VII originally, right? Where the game almost, you're in Midgard just long enough for the game to trick you into thinking that this is the game.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have that big moment and you leave Midgard and all of a sudden there's an overworld and it's green.
Yeah.
And you get to Calm and it's like, this is a Final Fantasy village. Like, this is a classic Final Fantasy village, right? And it is a small, quaint town. It couldn't be any more far removed from the design of Midgar. And it's literally in the name. It is a place to take a breath and calm down and talk about what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And I think the design of Calm in Rebirth is the exact antithesis of what Calm represents.
See,
it is this massive, overwrought, touristy looking it's huge. It is this huge structure and like the vibes are completely off to me. And then, and this is a slight spoiler, because they want to get you to a point where you have your like Fallout moment where you open up the door and see the vast world in front of you.
Yeah.
So they gin up this thing where like, well, Shinra is like attacking the town and you have to escape them and there's this like sewer exit and it opens up and now you get to see the world laid before you, and it's like that
was a little much. It
rubbed me the wrong way, like right off the rip. I will say later on, I don't have these issues. I think that Junon, like the actual like upper city and the lower city, incredible.
Yeah,
such a great realization of what we pictured.
I agree. Now
the Junon region.
Yeah. The Junon region is weird. I don't think that's how it would. To me, it didn't read like that. Now, I actually feel opposite on Calm. I actually really like the design of it.
Let me be clear. I like the design of it if it didn't represent Calm.
I think it's a great
city.
I get your point. Of how you feel about it. But at the same time, I think, if I remember correctly, Calm was kind of looked at as sort of a touristy place because it was outside of Midgar, and because like, I mean, you have the Calm Traveler, who I keep waiting to see, and stuff like that. So like, it's like kind of like a pass through town, and I kind of love their take on it. I always loved the design of that town because, and I actually think they did a pretty good job, because while in Final Fantasy VII Original, you know, it was kind of compacted. They wanted it to be like, you know, it's one screen or whatever. You're basically going to the inn. It's going to filter you there. You're going to do a thing, and then you move on.
Yeah, it was like the size of Nibelheim, like in the original
for
game.
the most part. And everything's going to be a little bit bigger in this one, and that's fine. Like, because
I'm fine with that, but to me, this was like, oh, this is like 8 times bigger than what the old one was.
It's not actually as big as you think it is, and at least in my opinion. I think I see where you're coming from with it, but like I didn't really get that impression. But then again, everything feels more alive, I guess, and they get. You also have the problem of like, well, now we can do more stuff, so we can make it maybe. It almost feels like a little bit more busy than Midgar is, which is kind of a weird thing. Which is weird.
It's on a new generation.
And I think that's where it comes to, where they're like, well, we can put all these people here now. It's fine. So, you know, you have that aspect too. My big thing was like, there's a part after the flashback happens and you go outside, and as soon as you step out the door, like there's just like musicians playing jazz out on the street. And I was like, oh, I love that. That's so cool.
There are certain vibes. There's in Junon. There's this bar you can go into.
Yes,
and there's like this really cool jazz band playing.
I sat there and watched the whole thing. I was like, this is great.
Nice. Yeah.
There's bits and pieces that I love about it. It's my biggest gripes with the open world. I just think it's lazy and boring. And
it's funny because like, I see a lot of people online saying like, "Oh, this is how Final Fantasy needs to do open world," and I'm like, "No, this is identical to Final Fantasy 15."
This is how no one should do fucking open world. It's boring, repetitive, and just uninspired as hell. This is how people need to stop doing open world. There's a fun way to do open world games where you go, "Hey, there's a guy over here that has an interesting quest that has a storyline and an arc, and stuff's gonna happen with it, and you can fill out and flesh out the lore of what you have and do all this stuff." The way they did it is like, here's a quick time event. Now Chadley's gonna tell you some shit. And it's like, I don't fucking care. I literally want him to stop talking as soon as possible. You have made me give less of a shit about one of my favorite things. I don't know how the fuck you did it, but you did.
But I'm glad that you brought that up, because initially when I started to do the side quests in Rebirth, I was like, oh, this is the same level of boring ass shit that Remake had, right? But not all the time.
Not all the time. I will get sometimes they're good.
It's great. So like, I'm not going to say what the quest is. I'm not going to say who the NPC is, but there is a side quest that you do in the early area where you're talking to the NPC and he's like, yeah, I just haven't been feeling really well lately.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel compelled, like I need to go somewhere. I need to be somewhere. And it's like, oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get more of his backstory as you do that quest. And I'm like, okay, if we have more of this as we get deeper into the game, I am all in, because this is the type of side quest stuff that I want, where it's like, it does build on the world,
right.
and it does make sense.
That stuff's great. There's certain, there are side quests like that are great. But it's the checklist, the open world stuff that I despise. Like
it's that stuff. And then it's like, look, it is no secret that I hate Akira Toriyama, or sorry, not Akira Toriyama. What am I saying? Tetsuya Nomura.
Nope, it's canon now. You hate him.
Nope. Tetsuya Nomura. I can't stand him. Yeah. I've been waiting for him to leave Final Fantasy for a very long time.
Right.
I was thinking about this. I'm hoping that this trilogy is Katase and Nomura's swan song as far as being actively involved in a Final Fantasy product.
That's
because
fair.
I'm ready for them to be gone. Because anytime there is like a Nomura character, they're the most annoying, most insufferable thing, and I want to there's a side quest with Kyrie, who she was in Remake, and I can't stand her, and she has her own, and they all tend to have these really annoying theme songs that are just the worst thing that you've ever heard.
Those are pretty bad. Yeah, I'm not a big...
She's got one.
Yeah,
there's a guy who actually is, he's in Final Fantasy VII originally. He's in the Corel prison part of the Gold Saucer.
Okay.
He's Dine's underling, Gus.
Oh.
But in here, they just like dialed him up to 15 out of 10.
All right.
And he has his own terrible theme song, and it's the fucking worst. And then Chadley, I hate everything about his design. I hate his voice. And I think they know that because they made him.
No, I don't think they know that.
No, I think they're leaning into it because they made him not just annoying now, but a piece of shit about it. Because sometimes you'll go up and talk to him because like, well, I want to spend these points and buy some materia. And he's like, oh, Cloud, I noticed that you haven't been bringing in much research data lately. I'm sure you'll get around to it soon. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Why do I have to sit through all of that just to get into your fucking menu?
I actively don't think they know that. I think
maybe not.
I really don't. I genuinely don't. There's a bit in there where like, okay, I don't know who they are or what they are, but Chadley has like almost a little sister character now that shows up.
An AI that he made.
Yes, an AI that he made. And the joke is, isn't my little sister annoying? And I'm like,
yeah,
she has more personality than you and is funnier and is more entertaining than you. And I'd like her to be here.
I disagree. I think she's just as bad.
They're both bad, but somehow I will tolerate her more than him. I don't understand.
Yeah. But that's why I think that they are aware of it.
No,
right?
I
now
don't
they're
think
like
they
leaning
are.
into it in a way.
I really don't think they are. I think they're Chadley's going to be here. He's going to be in the fucking North Crater somehow, just fucking hanging out. Like, oh hey, I know Sephiroth's down here, but would you like to enter the VR? Fuck you! I hate you so much.
Yeah,
I wish you would die. It'd be great.
So let me tell my story, because I think it'll get us to the next part of like, you know, us talking about the game.
Okay.
So I fired it up. I didn't play the demo, by the way. I just went in cold.
Okay. Me too.
And it starts off with like a very interesting intro where it's like,
yes,
I am instantly confused. I don't know what's going on, but I really want to see where this is going because what am I even looking at right now?
Yeah.
And then I've got some issues with the pacing. Again, I really would have preferred to like walk to Calm and like have them sit down and be like, okay, Cloud, what's going on? And then have everything start. There are some choices they made in the Nibelheim flashback that I've got issues with. Again, just like, why is this so slow? Like, why, you know, this is not adding tension to me. It's just actively annoying me. But I think it does a really good job of like setting up certain things for later. I find it very interesting the way that Cloud's voice actor is handling that part of the game. Mm-hmm. Like, that's very cool.
Right.
Sephiroth was already, like, they did a really good job in the remaster of Final Fantasy VII Reunion of making him like a more relatable character. Because that's the thing in, like, original Final Fantasy VII is that I was all in on, like I actually felt bad for Sephiroth for, you know, up until the end of Disc 1. For reasons. Mm-hmm. Up until that point, I was like, man, like, he's got it rough. Like, you know, things are bad for him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I was like, oh, no, he's got to die.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think they do a really good job of that here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got out into the world, and yeah, I was like, man, I just really don't like the look of this area, and I don't like traversing it. I do like some of the stuff they've added. Like, it makes sense, right? Like, I thought I was at, like, the Chocobo Ranch, and I was like, oh, no, this is just a farm.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense.
There would be a farm here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there should be more settlements, and there are more settlements in the areas, and that's cool. There's more people to interact with. That's cool. And there's neat little things, right? Like the way that you deal with Midgar Sormer, who we always thought was the Midgar Zolom.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's interesting to see the difference in translation. And that's my thing, right? Is that I was not one of the ones who wanted a full-on remake of Final Fantasy VII. Mm. I just wanted the game to be translated properly.
Right.
And maybe gussy up the graphics a little. And as I'm playing this game, I think my big thing is like, and again, it's not a remake.
Yeah.
It is a sequel.
And
that's the thing, right? Is that it took me years to come to grips with what Final Fantasy VII Remake actually is.
Yeah.
And now that I understand what it is, I'm more accepting of these three games as a whole.
Fair enough. Yeah.
At the same time, I keep playing it, and because it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
Like, it is a beautiful game. But I keep looking at it, and I'm like, yo, you guys could have just like kind of tilt shifted the world and like made it less detailed and just done like a one game complete recreation of it, and it would have been totally fine. I don't know if you watched it, Justin, but I sent you this like YouTube video of someone who tilt shifted Elden Ring.
Okay.
And they called it Tiny Elden Ring, and it's the same game. It's just from a different perspective, but it looks so cool.
Yeah.
It makes everything look so tiny.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and you can get away with less detail in an angle like that.
Right.
And like, that's really what I wanted. Now, this is a different thing, and so I want to talk about it as it is. My big issue, and I had this with the Nibelheim flashback.
Yeah.
I am completely overwhelmed by the battle system and the mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
There's so much going on, even more so than Remake, and the game kind of expects you to have like just finished Remake yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, like, it does. It really does. Yeah. So I don't know what point it was for me. I want to say it was like maybe it was during the intro. I was in some fight. I think it was like after the first boss fight, and I was like, yeah, I'm just bad at this combat. I'm turning this down to easy because that's how I played the last game, and I enjoyed it a lot more. And as soon as I did that, I was like, yeah, no, this is where I like this at, because it's very overwhelming. There's something that never quite clicks for me.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's not like the action game thing. I think it's just there's so much happening with your other party members and what you're supposed to be doing with them and what you can do with them and who you can switch to and who's attacking what and who's getting attacked and who's taking damage and who you need to heal and what's happening at all times. There's so much to manage, and it's happening very, very fast at action game speed that it really overwhelms the fuck out of me. That I'm just like,
me too. And it's also, I think the tutorialization is terrible in this game.
It's not very good at all. No.
To the point that I ended up watching like a GameSpot and an IGN video about like, tips and tricks for the combat.
Yeah.
So 30 hours in, it's finally starting to click in a pretty fundamental way, but still, there are still things. So like it definitely wants you to be switching characters a lot. And they added a new thing called synergy abilities, which is supposed to incentivize you to switch characters because they're abilities that you can do anytime that fill ATB gauge for the two characters involved in the ability. And then meanwhile, as you use ATB moves, that is filling a synergy gauge, which then once each character has enough pips in there, they can unleash like basically like a double team limit break type thing. Mm. It's a lot of install, though, for a very fast-paced battle system, and that's my problem. Is that if this was turn-based and all the mechanics were the same, I would be over the moon.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
in real time, and it's a lot. And then my thing is that because they put a big emphasis in the early game about like blocking and especially perfect blocking.
Yes, they do.
Right?
Yes.
Red 13 as a character is built around perfect blocking. Like his whole thing is about that.
Yeah.
I cannot react to the monster animations in this game unless it is a extremely telegraphed move from a big ass character.
Right.
To the point, and I've had this a couple times. I had it in Infinite Wealth with like a mini game where it's like, so is this just the game or am I getting old? I'm having to have that conversation with me like more often now. It's like, are my reflexes just shot or is it the game? I can't tell. And I feel this is me because of the way other people are handling it.
Yeah. I won't lie. I don't have so much of a problem with that, with the blocking portion. Like, mine is like, I just a lot of time when I get hit by something, I don't see where it's coming from. I'm like, oh, I guess I got hit in the back by this thing that was over there because there's so much going on. Because where the blocking thing clicked for me is there's a one-on-one fight with just Cloud and another character. And for whatever reason, I absolutely wrecked that dude in that fight. Like, because it was one-on-one. I knew where he was. Yeah. And I could see him, and like I was just like, I totally understand
the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I could not react.
Yeah,
He hit me
Yeah.
almost every single thing he had.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I'm not calling you old, Julian, but you know it. But.
Well, and I think part of it, right, is that I like RPGs.
Yeah.
And I spec'd in the RPG skill tree.
I
and
get
then
Yep.
RPGs decided they wanted to be action games.
Action
and I'm
games.
like, oh,
well, not all of them
damn.
did. Just Final Fantasy did.
Well, a lot of them, though. Let's be fair.
A lot of them
right?
did.
Like,
Well, I mean, no, really, just Final Fantasy. All the other ones that are around are still fucking turn-based. Persona's still turn-based. Fucking Dragon Quest still turn-based.
yeah, but like Tales.
Tales has always been that way.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't read it as that in those old
Yeah,
games.
yeah. It's always been like that kind of hybrid combat like that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, okay. But so the most recent Trails game is an action RPG.
Okay.
Right?
Well, that one I can't do anything about that.
Ys, but I guess that was always
That's always
action-y.
been that.
But yeah. I don't know. And so here's the thing, right? Is that I was playing it, and I'll talk a little bit more about the battle in a second. But like, I need to talk about like the first few hours were rough for me. Because I'm going through, I'm doing some of the open world stuff, and it's like the stuff I'm doing is fine if it wasn't for Chadley stopping the game to like talk to me about stupid shit with a stupid voice. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But like, and then I just started doing side quests, and I got this one side quest where you had to track this animal. And I'm like, okay. And I went to go track the animal, and I found the animal to fight. And the monster wrecked my shit. Like, he killed me so fast that I couldn't even tell what had happened.
Yeah.
And it was like game over. And I was like, okay, it's like start. Or I tried it a couple times.
Okay.
Couldn't do it. And it was like start from checkpoint. And I was like, sure. Said checkpoint was like 2.5 hours in the past.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know that I hadn't made a hard save in a bit, but I thought this game was auto saving.
Yeah, no.
And I put it down, and I was like, that was on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I'm done with this for a bit.
Yeah.
And I actually fired up the demo for Unicorn Overlord. I was like, maybe this is what I need to play first.
Right.
But then I was like, it's the big new thing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, let me go back. And then when I went to go just hit continue, it actually had auto-saved me, like, right before that thing. And
weird.
I'm like, yeah, it was very bizarre.
Really weird. Yeah.
So I hadn't actually lost all that data. And I was like, okay, or all that time. I was like, okay, cool. Let me just move forward. I'm not going to do this side quest.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
Went forward with the story. Started to really vibe with it. I was really liking what I was seeing.
Yeah.
This game has the cutest chocobos in Final Fantasy history.
I really like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to stress that like I'm negative about certain parts of the open world, but like what I have played, I did like.
And I want to so and for me it was a process.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
Because there were definitely things even in the opening where I was like, oh, I really love that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I hate that. But this is cool.
But this
right?
is cool.
Like,
yeah.
Very conflicting.
All over the place. Yep. I hear you.
I was digging a lot of the music a lot more.
Yeah,
like
me
I
too.
haven't heard anything as offensively bad as the stuff that I remember from Final Fantasy VII Remake. There are some tracks that I don't like.
My biggest thing between those two games is, for me, the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack doesn't really get good until after Midgar. Like, it's fine in Midgar, and you definitely have some jams in Midgar. Like, the Shinra theme's great, but other than that, like, it doesn't really start to pick up, in where it's actually quality until you're outside of there. So, like, now is the time, if it's going to get good, that it gets good, and it does pretty good. I love how they started doing this in Intergrade, where they started doing like some like real jazz tracks, like just and they started doing that a lot more, and I'm like, I'm all about this shit. Like, this is great. So
and it feels appropriate.
Yeah, it
somehow
works. I don't know what it is, but it works. Like, and you get to June, like my one of my favorite moments so far is like there's a spot, and I don't remember exactly where it is. I'm gonna have to do some hard research into it. But there's a spot in Junon where you just where I walked into something, and it was like it was the Junon March, but it was just like all hail the communist Soviet Russia style like chorus going on, and I was like, this is perfect. Like, I was just like, this is so good. It was awesome.
also as much as I am, disliking a lot of the like new characters that they're trying to shoehorn into the game, all of y'all are like, swooning over Tifa and Aerith, and you're missing out on the true queen of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the commander in Junon. Be Still My Heart.
Oh. Okay.
Just putting that out there. Hey. No, so I was making my way through the grasslands and stuff like that. I got to the Midgar Stormer fight, and I was like, okay, I think this battle system is starting to click for me. And there's actually even this really cool, like, Final Fantasy 14 style mechanic where it readied this really big move, and I was like, yo, I got to get behind that big tree.
Yeah, I figured that out too. Yeah, it's pretty, somehow I figured that out. Yeah.
And so that was really neat. And then you go through, like, the dungeon that you go through, just like in the original game. And you go to fight Rude and Elena. And then I was like, oh, I don't understand this battle system at all, because I barely got through it. And it confirmed that they brought back the thing that I hate the most from the last game, which is that they will straight up, like, they're so dead set on making the boss fights cinematic and interesting at the expense of the gameplay. So I staggered Elena. I fucking staggered her, dude. And then before I could even do one move, it went into a cutscene. And when the cutscene was over, she was no longer staggered.
That sucks.
And sure, I guess I didn't put the damage in fast enough before the cutscene triggered. But come on,
that sucks.
Don't do
That's
that.
A bummer.
And so then I was like, okay, maybe I don't understand this at all.
Can I ask a memory question?
Yes.
In the original one, did you fight the Turks in the Mithril Cave? Because I don't remember that. I remember you just overhear their conversation. Because
I think that's what it is that they're talking. Elena says way too much. And
Elena
tells you
says way too much, and that's your introduction to her character, because she's brand new outside of that.
Oh, she's fantastic in this.
She's great. I really liked her. I was like, I was just going over it in my head. I was like, because they introduce it the same way, because you're overhearing the thing, and it goes like, go eavesdrop on this thing, and I was like, okay, cool. They're doing the same bit. That's cool. I remember this now. It's coming back a little bit, and then I go to do it, and I was like, oh, we're fighting. I was like, that wasn't in there, right? Am I going nuts?
That wasn't, but that is one of those additions that makes a lot of sense.
It's fine. Yeah, no, right? I wasn't even mad about it. I was just like, this didn't.
You're right.
That didn't happen, right? I'm okay. Yeah,
and I gotta say that is one of my biggest praises of this game is the character work.
Oh yeah.
I am not a fan of the Final Fantasy VII cast originally. Like when I played that game back in '97, I was like, I like Cloud, I like Barrett, and I like Tifa, and the rest of them are just kind of here.
Yeah.
Where so far, I am really digging the whole party. I'm digging their interactions with, like, the NPCs. I like, they're fleshing out the story in very interesting ways. One of the best things they've done about this one, to me, Justin, and again, it's a sequel, it's not a remake, but they're still, this game in particular, they're hewing much closer to the source material than the first part.
Yes. For sure.
I've got some stuff to say about that in a second, but the main quest of Final Fantasy VII, for so much of it, is so dumb, because you're just following Sephiroth, and it's like everybody you talk to is like, well, yeah, there was this guy with a black cape and a sword that walked by here not that long ago, and it's like it just doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You're actually tracking the robed clone, or the robed figures heading to the reunion. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's a little bit easier to it makes sense that like more people would see a group of people walking through this area.
It also makes sense in that like it's like we don't know where they're going, but for whatever reason, we're pretty sure it's Sephiroth. They're just going there. So if we follow them, it'll lead us to them. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
And then, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I like a lot of the explanations that they've given for certain things that used to be just like, I don't know, it's just like that. Shut up. It was just like
There's some great stuff between Tifa and Cloud after the after the Nibelheim flashback that it's like, why wouldn't you have questions after that story?
Yeah.
Like,
I still get upset about that, though. That Tifa's character always kind of, she drives me nuts. I really like my favorite thing with all the relationships now in between there is I actually like that Tifa and Aerith are like more friends now.
Oh, that's great.
It's really great.
So much fun.
Like it's awesome. And like that's really I think they interviewed the guy somebody who wrote it. I don't remember who it was. And one of his biggest regrets was like, I didn't mean for their relationship to come off as like they didn't like each other, because it kind of does in the original. He's like, I didn't mean it like that. They've been on this whole adventure. They're going to be friends, but like because of the love triangle aspect, it came off as they were competing with each other. And I didn't want that, and now I get to correct it, so it's great, and so that's awesome, and it's coming. I really like that aspect of the whole thing. But Tifa's character always drives me nuts, especially at that part. But I'm still really interested into where that part is going, because like they say certain things, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting that you're just tipping that bit now. Okay, it's fascinating, you know. But like,
because we also. Even though we kind of know what to expect, we also don't know what to expect, because this is also a different telling of this story, right? And it's very interesting. I am a little concerned that this trilogy is going to end up, when it's all said and done, feeling like the Star Wars sequel trilogy, because like, you know, I loved Force Awakens. I was like, okay, it's hitting the nostalgia button, but it's giving me some new characters that I really enjoy. This is a cool starting off point. Yeah. And then, you know, Last Jedi comes out, and I personally don't like the story of that movie, and I don't like what it does for the characters that they introduced in the first movie. Yeah. But I do really like the implications that it set up for like Luke Skywalker and the Force and the Jedi as a whole. And I was like, okay, let's see where we're going with this. Yeah. You know, I didn't love this, but I'm curious to see what you do with this. And then you just come in and completely like disregard that. And so it felt like, you know, first movie comes in, and then another guy comes in, disregards the first movie, and then the guy from the first movie comes in and disregards the second, and then it's just all, it's a mess. I
feel like they have more of a vision, and you know, like it is, you know, it is, what's his name? The guy we keep, not Akira Toriyama.
Yes. I don't know why I always... Yes. Now I got to leave that flub in. Thank you.
No, it's fun. I thought it was fun. Yes. But at least it's a consistent vision. It may be a fucking insane vision, but at least it's like consistent, you know, like at least they have one thing, because that was the Star Wars trilogy problem, is like, all these guys are going to take a crack at it, and they're all going to hate each other's ideas and fucking disregard everything. So at least you're not having that.
Right. Well, I think what I'm getting at is that so far they've been oddly restrained with the weirdness, and to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm at this point, I'm not really sure what's going on here. But that's also kind of a good feeling.
That is, it's interesting, right? Yeah,
it is.
I find that fascinating. And overall, I'm like very curious to see where it's going. When I stopped playing it, I was like, it wasn't a like I am done playing this forever. It was like I'm a little worn out by this open world shit. I'm gonna put this down for now because WWE comes out tomorrow. And I was just like, I'm not compelled enough to keep playing at the moment. But like, most of the stuff I played, I liked. Except for when they make me try to find cactuars. I'm really bad at finding shit. I'm so fucking bad at that. That was the Costa del Sol. I was so bad at finding the little mini games there.
I never liked the mini games in Final Fantasy VII, and I think that it's one of the things that I hate that I hate Final Fantasy VII for as a legacy game, is that then that became
a thing. We got
to stuff it with mini games, right? And this game triples down on them in a way that I was not expecting. Yeah, and I hate it, and I especially hate that like coming in second, like all of the dialogue is like, man, you suck. Yeah. Like you couldn't come in first on this. Yeah. What a piece of shit you are.
Yeah, you're terrible at this. Why don't you just quit right now, you loser?
So the first thing was that like, I was like, I knew about Queen's Blood, and I was like, okay, it's cool that now like there's a card game for each of the 3 PlayStation 1 games canonically. That is fine. Yeah. I'm not going to play it because I don't like. I got way too invested in Sujimon battles in Infinite Wealth.
Okay.
I'm like, I can't afford to dump a bunch of time into this thing. I'm bad at card games anyway. I'm just going to ignore it. I didn't even do the tutorial. I was like, I'm not fighting. I'm not doing it at all.
Julian, listen. Queen's Blood's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it.
I'm sure it is.
I like it. It's pretty good.
I didn't want to engage with it until the game fucking forced me to.
Yes, it does force you to. Yeah. I don't know how you did in the tournament. How did you do?
I didn't even play one. I forfeited.
Oh, you can do that.
That's fun.
Instantly. That's fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I was playing everybody that I could play in Queen's Blood. Blood.
I figured you would.
I will say this: Queen's Blood has a storyline that's going somewhere, and I'm fascinated.
That's what I've heard.
It's bizarre, and I'm like, I gotta know where that's going. Yeah. 'Cause at some point it just flashed to something and I was like, what the fuck was that? All right, let's see where this is going. And it entered the Queen's Blood tournament arc and I was like amped. I was like, let's fucking go. I'm gonna own these motherfuckers. And I got to whoop Chadley's ass in Queen's Blood and that felt pretty fucking good. Oh, that felt good. Beat that snide little piece of shit.
And I gotta say, without getting into spoilers, as I said, the entirety of Junon, what happens in the Under Village and when you get to the up top is so good, and they made really smart plays to retain some of the old flavor, but make it make more sense.
Yes.
And thankfully they got rid of the CPR minigame. There is a nice little nod to it.
There's a nice nod to it. Yeah.
That's cute.
Yep.
The stuff up in Upper Junon is really fun.
Everybody always remembers the CPR minigame. I never had a problem with that one. Mine was always the dolphin jumping minigame.
I hated both of those.
That used to be a nightmare. The dolphin jumping one was a complete fucking guessing game as to where you had to fucking actually get it. And now it's just I don't know, you just go around the track once, it's fine. And I was like, all right, that's fine. I don't give a shit about this. I'm never going to engage with it again, but that is totally cool. I'm glad you had the dolphin there. Mr. Dolphin made his triumphant return.
Just the design of Junon, it makes it even more you realize just how fucked up it was for Shinra to come in and build a city on top of a village. Just fuck you, that's why. You were already living here, but we're just going to build this military base on top of you.
Still surprised they didn't do the shot, though. They didn't do the Aerith in front of the Highwind shot. I was kind of surprised by that. I kept you know the one, the one that was on, I kept waiting for it. I was like, really? Not going to do that, huh? Oh, okay. All right. What do I
And also, the reason for you leaving Junon to go to Costa del Sol makes a lot more sense, right? The ship you're on is now a pleasure cruise. It's not a military vessel. That makes sense. Yep. There's a lot of stuff in here that is a really good slight tilting of what happened in order to make it actually make more sense.
Oh, God, that boat used to be complete nonsense. It didn't make almost any sense as to what was going on or how certain things happen on it. It's just wait, what? All right, I guess we're fighting this now. I don't know what's going on.
That's been another thing is that it's been really good about being more obvious about. Whenever you see Sephiroth, it's not the party seeing Sephiroth, it's Cloud, and then you actually see what it actually is, what everybody else is seeing, and so it's more explicit about that, where the original game, it was really difficult to understand
it was really all over the place,
Yes. So all that stuff is great. Getting to Costa del Sol, that stuff is fun. Again, I don't like the minigame shit. I didn't have fun with any of that. But the actual vibes of Costa del Sol was really good.
Yeah.
And so once I left Costa del Sol, that was when I texted you because I was like, I'm really liking this game now. I'm really enjoying the vibes, and I'm clicking with the combat in a way that I wasn't before, and the music is really good, and the character stuff is great. And I texted you, and I was like, "Hey, man, did you finish it already?" Because I hadn't seen you pop up on my friends list in a while. And you were like, "Oh no, I put it down," and I was like, "Oh, okay," because it was right at that moment, I was like, "Oh, here it is." And
you, it's funny, it clicked more for you, and for me, I fell off of it because I was just like, now I got to clear out this map of the open world, and I don't want to do it. Yeah,
that is my best advice to you: is don't be concerned about that. I would suggest seeking out the side quests and
Right.
doing as many of those as you can, but kind of just taking your fill and then moving on. So like, I actually wasn't in the area right outside of Costa del Sol very long. I did a couple side quests, I did a couple open world things, and then I moved on to, you know, the like going up to North Coral and stuff like that.
But Julian, Alexander won't be strong enough unless I do all of them.
True, but
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so
it is
bad at
true.
the battle system that I'm not going to be able to fight Alexander at his strongest anyway.
Well,
so.
the fun news is if you do all of the side stuff, when you go to fight him, he is weaker.
Right, but I think you have to fight him on his strongest in order to get the strongest version of him.
No, I don't think you do. I think
okay.
you get it, and if you discovered them all, he's more. I think this is how this works. If I could be very wrong, Julian. Because they don't explain it very well. I think the way it works is if you can fight him at his weakest or what, like the more you get, the more weak, like you fight a weaker version of it, so you get it.
Yeah. I understand. I got that concept, but I thought that like to get the highest version of the summon materia, you eventually do have to fight.
No, I think it's full powered if you found all the little things that sync it up or whatever. In the open world.
Okay.
I think that's how you power them up. I could be wrong, but
and then I got to the gold saucer, which look, I hated the gold saucer in 1997. I thought it was weird in the placement of the story in 1997. It is weirder and more off-putting in 2024.
Oh, I can't wait.
The reason that you're going there doesn't make any sense now at all. And somehow, Justin, I don't know how they did this.
Yeah.
They actually made the mini games that have made the jump from the original to Rebirth worse.
Oh.
I don't know how you could make the motorcycle mini game feel worse than the PlayStation game, but they did it.
Yeah.
I hate them all.
That's good.
And so I just did the bare minimum that I needed to get the hell out of there, because also I hate the gold saucer music.
How many people playing Queen's Blood up in there?
I don't know. There was a desk with a tournament.
Oh, okay. All right. Say no more, fam. I'm there. That's all I need. I don't give a shit about anything else. Where are these motherfuckers playing cards at? We gonna wreck they shit.
Yeah. But
oh man, I can't. I'm sorry. I can't stress this enough. I smashed Chadley so hard at Queen's Blood. Like it was embarrassing for him. Like, oh, it felt good. I smashed that whole tournament. It got to the hardest fight in the whole thing, which, by the way, there is some really fun stuff if you go through that tournament. And I won't spoil it for other people that do decide to do it. I'll tell you when we get done.
I will just say, like, there is a cutscene with Red 13, regardless on if you do the tournament or not, that is amazing.
Yeah. Okay. So you might have got a different version of what I got then. Yeah, that's interesting.
I did because I saw a version where someone actually beat the tournament, but it still happens.
Okay.
It's just slightly differently, but like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, is like I'm playing this game and I'm like, somehow this game is being very faithful to the wackiness and the vibe of the original game.
It is.
And still being very realistic in like the presentation and stuff like that. And I'm like, what happened over at Final Fantasy 16? It must have just been the overall ethos. Like, no, we can't do this.
I don't know.
Like, but you can.
Yeah, there's something. They're just like, no, it has to be serious. I don't know. For whatever reason, their whole thing with 16 was like, it has to be serious.
Yeah.
This is a serious game.
Some humor in there.
No. This is serious, Julian. It's very serious.
We can't have a cactuar in this game because it wouldn't make sense visually. It's like, I saw a cactuar in Final Fantasy 7 and it was just fine.
No. But Final Fantasy 7 isn't serious, Julian.
Yeah.
We're very serious, okay? We want you to really think about how serious it is. Are you thinking about it? It's very serious.
I am thinking about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I think that's the thing I wanted to close on is that I see what they're doing now, because when they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake and they said it's only going to be Midgar, I was like, that's stupid. Midgar is like 5 hours of the game. You're going to bloat that out to a 30-hour plus experience. And it is very bloated, and it is very padded.
Yeah.
And I think one of my big complaints about Rebirth is like, hey, all of those really annoying characters that we made up for remake, they all decided to leave at the same time, and you're gonna run into all of them. And I'm like, I never wanted to see them again.
They all left at the same time. They're all over the world now, and now and also we've put other bloat in. It's just like
there's still a fair amount of bloat.
Some of the stuff, like we were saying, and some of the stuff is zany and fun. Like
yes, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is that I now understand why they did remake the way that they did it, focusing on one city, and it's because they're and this is I think this is very smart of them. And I was thinking about this when I was playing Infinite Wealth, that I wish more game developers would lean into. Is okay. First game, they made Midgar. Yeah. It's an important location. They made it. It's done.
Yeah.
Second game, most of the overworld map. Yeah. Right? Because in disc 1, you get to most of the map on, I don't think you get up to the northern continent, right?
Yeah, that's the only part. And that's not even really like that much, actually. When you stop and think about it, it's really not. So
yeah. So that's that's the undertaking for the second game.
Yeah.
Right. Most of the overworld map. Third game, we create the last bit of the world that you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
And you're going to go back to Midgar because we already made that shit. And you're going to go back to the overworld because we already made that shit.
Yeah.
It's been done. And it's like, that's what the Yakuza games do, right? Is like, you can go to Sotenbori in this game because we already made it.
Yeah.
You can, you better believe that we're going back to Hawaii in a future game because they made Hawaii. They're not going to let that just sit there unused.
Yeah. At some point, somebody's going to take a trip. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And again, also tonally, right? Like a lot of the vibe of like the side quests and stuff like that, and just the general like presentation definitely has that really good walking the line between zany wackiness and earnest, character drama, right? And it actually does a pretty good job of it. I think it's doing a really good job. I'm really enjoying it. I wish I had played more of it, but like this week was also pretty rough for me.
Yeah.
So I really didn't get to play much at all this week. I'm about halfway through.
Yeah. I plan on getting back to it as soon as priorities and stupid wrestling games are done. And there's also a couple other things I want to play that are coming out and have come out. This is, God, what a busy fucking time of the year for video games.
Yeah. I keep thinking about like so many like podcasts and outlets were talking about how like 2024 wasn't looking like that stacked of a year. And I realized why they were saying that.
Yeah.
And it's because a lot of like other podcasts and outlets tend to either ignore or heavily discount games from Japan. But like, Japan is killing it right now.
It's either that or they only look towards the later part of the year and they forget that this is actually part of that year.
Maybe. I don't know. I really do feel a little bit of it is like, well, if it's not like, we're only looking for like the big first party, like Xbox and Sony and Nintendo stuff. I mean, obviously Nintendo's Japan, but like, and they're not looking because like, it's already been so stacked, and like I'm already behind. There's no
Legend of Zelda game coming out, Julian. So there's nothing coming out.
Right? Yeah. There's not a Naughty Dog game this year, so nothing's coming out.
Nothing's coming out.
Yeah, but no, like I said, I've got Unicorn Overlord like on the way. Like that is the thing that I'm playing after Rebirth.
You mentioned its name, and I was like, I need to go buy that and try it this weekend because I really, from everything I've read and looked at, I'm like, I'm probably gonna really like that game, aren't I?
Yeah. And that's real quick. This is a slight aside, but in that moment when I thought that I wasn't going to finish Rebirth, I was looking and I was like, well, maybe I should play Persona 3 Reloaded because I haven't played that yet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not that. I don't want to talk. It's a remake. I don't want to mess with that right now. And then I was like, maybe I should go ahead and replay Elden Ring to get a new character ready for the DLC. But I was like, I can do that later.
Yeah.
And then I did decide. So one thing I decided, I found a 100% guide for Persona 3 Reloaded.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it like I played Persona 5 Royal.
There you go.
Where I'm going to start in April.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything in the game that month for April.
Yeah.
And then put it down. And then just play it month by month, like
as
the game story goes.
Yeah.
Because it's more digestible that way.
That's a good idea.
It means I won't finish it until next year.
Yeah.
But it's something in the background that's just always running.
That might be fun. Yeah.
I think that'll be fun.
You know what? I might do that with you. Actually, that might be a great way to play that game.
I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. I need to see reviews on Dragon's Dogma 2 and Rise of the Ronin. I don't know about either of those games, but I'm interested in both of them. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in Dragon's Dogma 2. It's got a character creator. I'm interested in that. Might be pretty all right. I thought it was cool what I played, but I didn't get into it the first time I fucked with it, like the original one.
Yes.
And so I'm interested. I'll probably be like you and watch somebody else play it, so I know exactly who I'm going to watch play it. In fact, to see, I'm like, okay, I know they know what's going on here, and they can at least explain it and make it look cool. And if it doesn't look cool to me, then I won't go for it. But we'll see. But I'm definitely interested in that one. Unicorn Overlord, I'm definitely going to play. That's gonna, that looks good.
Yeah. And there is a little bit of a lull around May, so that'll be nice. And that's probably around the time that I'll fire up Elden Ring again and I'm not going to finish it. I'm not going to try to 100% it. I just want to get a new character up to having finished Radon and Moog so that I'm ready for the DLC.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Because I am very excited for Shadow of the Erd Tree. That trailer looked amazing. Holy shit.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And I'm also interested in actually like playing new content like with other people, right?
Yeah.
So going into the unknown and figuring it out as we go.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Just like we're figuring out this podcast as we go, Justin.
Yeah.
I think it's time to start shutting this puppy down.
Oh wait, hold on. No, we can't do that just yet. Chill. We got I'm sorry, we have to hit the 311 button one final time.
Dude, I could see your finger hovering over it for like the last like half hour at least.
We have to do it. We have to do it.
Yes.
And we'll end with this very special fact. On the last night of the Sugar Ray 311 tour, Sugar Ray presented the band with a cake with the 311 logo on it. That's it. That's the last 311
nice
fact.
Of Sugar Ray.
This is very nice of Sugar Ray. You know, he does a lot, that Sugar Ray. He's doing his thing, being Mark McGrath and all that stuff. That's 311 minute. That's the 311 button. Hope
you all enjoyed.
Yeah, we'll see if it comes back. You never know. Maybe back by popular demand or banned by popular demand. Who knows? But anyway, chill. Yeah, and that's it.
I heard tell rumors of a possible Amy Grant button in the works.
It's in the works.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what you're going to get with the stage select. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, you can find us online, Justin.
You can find me at Tyrone_Swift. You can listen to This Is Video Games. It's a podcast that I'm on. And that's I did it. I did that podcast. You can listen to it. It's about video games. That's it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't look any further into it.
Yeah.
Just maybe don't listen to it around your kids.
Yeah, maybe don't. I will at least warn you about that. You shouldn't listen to anything I'm on around kids. I don't know what the hell you're doing. That's a weird thing.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. No.
I'm not gonna judge you for your parenting style.
Yeah,
but,
but I will. I will do it.
I've been actively trying to curse less on this podcast, but
good for you. I'm not.
It's still
a
lot.
I don't have it in me. It's not gonna happen.
All right, and you can find me on Twitter at Julian_Titus. You can also find me on Blue Sky. Just look for Julian Titus. Once again, the podcast is at Stage Select Pod. And if you would like to send an email with a question, comment, or concern, the email address is thestageselectpod@gmail.com. Thank you to Megan McDuffie for our incredible theme song and interstitial tracks. Thank you to John Gholson for being our wonderful show announcer. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Stage Select. I've been Julian Titus. He's been Justin Ham. We've been the Stage Select. Signing off.
Yep.
The Stage Select is copyrighted and owned by Space Monkey Mafia Productions, specializing in independent podcasting. please consider sharing the show with your friends and support us by joining our Patreon or donating to our coffee. Thank you, and good night.
Hello? Mr. Titus? Mr. Ham? Mr. Gholson? I'm still in the auditorium. I can't get out. All the doors are locked. Oh no. Guess I'll die.